Chapter 343, Solution to the Innate Fetal Poison. Following behind Lu Ling, Pavilion Master Zhang entered the hall. Paying respects to teacher. Pavilion Master Zhang clasped his fist and bowed. Before he could speak, he heard his teacher ask, "Is there any books regarding Empyrean Kong Shi in the Master Teacher Pavilion?" Empyrean Kong Shi. Pavilion Master Zhang was taken aback. There are some records about Kong Shi in the 2-star library, but it isn't too detailed. Bring me there. Hearing the other party confirm the matter, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. Even though the innate fetal poison was still dormant at the moment, he couldn't rest easy knowing that there was a ticking time bomb on him. It would be best if he could solve it as soon as possible. Yes. Pavilion Master Zhang nodded. The 2-star library of the Master Teacher Pavilion was only open to 2-star Master Teachers. However, given his teacher's capability, he was definitely a Master Teacher who surpassed 2-star. Thus, he was qualified to enter freely. Thus, under Jiang Shu's lead, the duo headed to the Master Teacher Pavilion. The residence wasn't too far from the residence, so it didn't take them too long before arriving at the 2-star library. Insisting that Pavilion Master Zhang stay outside, Zhang Xian walked in. Even though the number of books in the 2-star library paled to that of the 1-star library, the quantity was still astonishing. Since Zhang Xian had nothing urgent at hand, he began collecting them all into the Library of Heaven's Path. It took him around half a day to collect all of the books in the 2-star library. Kong Shi. As soon as that thought popped in his mind, 2 books appeared before him. He casually flipped it open. Empyrean Kong Shi possesses innate saint soul depth. A few matters concerning Kong Shi were written on the 2 books. Looking through the matters regarding Kong Shi before he reached 30-year-old twice, Zhang Xian realized that something was amiss. Not only was Kong Shi talented, he was also extremely diligent in his cultivation. In order to raise his strength, he put himself in precarious situations, entering the deep sea, stepping into the wilderness, infiltrating underground caverns. At an age below 30, he had already reached the level of a 9-star master teacher. But after that, he seemed to have suddenly toned down. He traveled around the world to enlighten the masses, established the Master Teacher Pavilion, and brought order to the entire continent. While his deeds were still spectacular, he clearly wasn't as driven as he was in the past. Could becoming a 9-star Master Teacher be the key to solving the innate fetal poison? Getting, Zhang Xian's heart skipped a beat. Unlike other occupations, Master Teachers had a strict requirement of one's cultivation. When Zhang Xian was still at Tongxian Realm, he was still able to receive 2-star emblems from the Beast Hall and the Painter Guild. However, in the Master Teacher Pavilion, he wasn't even eligible to take the examination. To become a 9-star Master Teacher, on top of possessing overwhelming soul depth, Zhang Xian's cultivation had to reach an unimaginable level as well. If he had to reach this level to solve the innate fetal poison, then this was truly terrible news. I should test my hypothesis. A blank book appeared in his palm, and fetching a brush, Zhang Xian wrote, "Reaching 9-star Master Teacher can solve the innate fetal poison." He touched the book with his finger. Wang. A book appeared in the Library of Heaven's Path. Quickly flipping through it, Zhang Xian's eyebrows shot up. There weren't any errors reflected in the book. In other words, this sentence was true. I have to reach 9-star Master Teacher to solve the innate fetal poison. In other words, if I don't reach 9-star Master Teacher before 30, I will die. Zhang Xian's body swayed weakly and he found himself on the verge of tears. The heck, did the world have a grudge with him? Other cultivators like Xiaoye and Yuan Tao possessed all kinds of amazing physical constitutions, and by awakening them, their cultivation would be raised exponentially as if riding on a rocket. On the other hand, he was cursed with the innate fetal poison which threatened to claim his life if he didn't become a 9-star Master Teacher before 30. Are you for real? 9-star Master Teachers were the greatest experts who could shake the entire continent with their stomp. Every single one of them only managed to reach that realm after countless years of accumulation. To reach that level before 30, even though the Library of Heaven's Path allowed him to raise his cultivation swiftly, where in the world was he supposed to find sufficient spiritual energy to sustain his cultivation? More importantly, where in the world was he supposed to find so many secret manuals for the compilation of subsequent levels of Heaven's Path divine art? Dismayed, Zhang Xian wrote another line. Other than becoming a 9-star master teacher, there are other solutions to solving the innate fetal poison. He touched the book once more. Wang. The book refreshed, and there were still no errors on it. There are other solutions to it. Upon seeing this, Zhang Xian immediately grew agitated. However, his agitation only lasted for a short moment before bitterness crept onto his face. So what if he knew that there were other solutions? If he didn't know what they were no different from being non-existent. Even if you know that transforming into a bird can allow you to soar in the skies, it doesn't mean a thing if you are unable to do so. Forget it. Since there are other solutions, I should be able to find them. Otherwise, I will just have to experiment slowly. Zhang Xian consoled himself. Even though the Library of Heaven's Path couldn't give him the solution to a problem, it could determine whether something was right or wrong. If it comes down to it, he would just have to try treatment methods one after another. He should at least stumble upon the right one eventually. There was still some time before he reached 30, so there wasn't much of a need for him to worry too much about it at the moment. At this moment, the sun had already set. Zhang Xian walked out of the library while stretching his back. Leaving the master-teacher pavilion, he headed straight back to the academy and continued helping Lu Chong with the cultivation of the poison body. After which, he stepped into the small tutoring room and took out the spirit stone. Spiritual energy flowed within the transparent and brilliant stone, and it felt warm and comfortable to the touch. Time to cultivate. With the spirit stone and the complete Zongshi realm Heaven's Path divine art in hand, there was no need for Zhang Xian to hesitate. Nothing was more concrete than strength. Only with sufficient strength could Zhang Xian win the deference of others without disguising as Yang Xian. Placing the spirit stone in his palm, he closed his hands and started to cultivate according to the formula recorded in the Zongshi realm Heaven's Path divine art. Gu. Spiritual energy immediately gushed into his meridians and turned into pure Zhengqi before slowly accumulating in his dantian. Under the infusion of spiritual energy, Zhang Xian's cultivation rose swiftly. Zongshi realm primary stage. Zongshi realm intermediate stage. An hour later, Zhang Xian's cultivation had already reached Zongshi realm intermediate stage, and he was only a step away from reaching Zongshi realm advanced stage. Kacha. Just when he was going to attempt the breakthrough to Zongshi realm advanced stage, the spirit stone in his palm suddenly cracked and crumbled into dust. The spiritual energy in the spirit stone had been completely depleted. It crumbled. Just like that. Seeing the spirit stone being depleted of its spiritual energy and crumbling into dust, Zhang Xian scratched his head. He thought that he should at least be able to reach Zongshi realm pinnacle with this spirit stone, but it seemed like he was overestimating it. There was no doubt that spirit stones were concentrated with spiritual energy, but there was still a limit to how much spiritual energy each spirit stone could contain. If it was any other Zongshi realm cultivator, they might have been able to reach Zongshi realm pinnacle with a single spirit stone. However, Zhang Xian was different. The Heaven's Path Zhengqi was incomparably pure, and it demanded an equal quality of the spiritual energy it absorbed as well. It would refuse spiritual energy with the slightest bit of impurity in them. Thus, almost half of the spiritual energy in the spirit stone ended up being wastes. It was already a huge blessing that Zhang Xian was able to reach Zongshi realm intermediate stage despite the immense wastage. Since a single spirit stone is insufficient, didn't the emperor ask me to treat someone's illness? Maybe I can try asking for a few more from him then. Having known the prowess of a spirit stone, Zhang Xian began to devise a plan to obtain more of it. Since the emperor was willing to gift a spirit stone to him, chances are that he had more of it. If he could lay his hands on a few more, he would be able to easily reach Zongshi realm pinnacle. With such strength, even if he were to abandon his identity as a master teacher, no one would dare to stand in his way in Tianwu Kingdom. When dawn arrived, he passed the bottle of poison to Lu Chong, taught him how to use it, and instructed him to continue tempering his poison body. After which, he left the classroom and headed toward the royal palace. Tianwu Royal Palace. Emperor Tianxue, Prince Fei Xian had traveled such a long distance to propose to Princess Mou. With a matrimony occurs between Tianwu and Kunxian Kingdom, we would be able to deepen our trust and better support one another. If so, the other countries would surely dare not harbor any ambitious thoughts against us. In the royal court, an elder clasped his hand as he spoke to Mo Tianxue, who was sitting on the throne. The elder was envoy Ran Mu from Kunxian Kingdom. A Zongshi realm Pinnacle expert. There was a 24-year-old youngster standing beside him. He had a dashing appearance, but the arrogance on his face seemed to spoil the aesthetics of his features. Despite his young age, he was actually a Tongxian realm Pinnacle expert. At the current moment, the young man was gazing at Mou with unconcealed admiration. However, Mou simply frowned. It seemed like not only was she uninterested in this prince, she even carried slight abhorrence for him. Envoy Ran Mu, there's no need to rush things. Mou is the daughter that I dote the most on, so I propose that we discuss the matter slowly. Mo Tianxue replied with a vague answer, neither agreeing nor disagreeing to Envoy Ran Mu's proposal. Emperor Tianxue has already said such words many times. The very reason why I am here with the prince this time around is to facilitate this matter. Envoy Ran Mu smiled. I heard that something has happened to your guardian beast and that you have been using a formation to confine it. May I know if it is true? Mo Tianxue's face darkened. What do you mean by that? He. Envoy Ran Mu chuckled. Since our Kunxian kingdom is able to obtain such news, naturally, the other kingdoms should already know of it as well. As long as His Majesty agrees to the marriage, we will present a stalk of spirit beast grass to you. I believe that with this, you should have no reason to reject us. Spirit beast grass. Mo Tianxue frowned. Just like cultivators, savage beasts had cultivation realms as well. Savage beasts who surpassed Jizuan realm to reach a higher level of existence were known as spirit beasts. Spirit beast grass was a medicinal herb which grew in areas where spiritual energy was dense. Spirit beasts are extremely fond of it, and they often fought with one another over it. The value of a spirit beast grass was in no way inferior to a spirit stone. But of course, its rarity and value weren't what that appealed to Mo Tianxue. What Mo Tianxue was interested in was its ability to soothe the injuries of a savage beast. On top of that, if a Jizuan realm savage beast could consume it frequently over a period of time, there was a good possibility that it might be able to advance to a spirit beast. The main reason why Tianwu Kingdom had been able to become a Tier 1 kingdom and deter the aggression of surrounding Tier 1 kingdoms was mainly due to the existence of their half-Jizuan guardian beast. However, the guardian beast hadn't been in good condition recently. That was also the reason why Mo Tianxue approached Lu Laoshe, hoping that the latter could treat it. Even though a stalk of spirit beast grass was probably insufficient to cure the guardian beast's illness, it could alleviate its condition. However, Mo Tianxue was grooming Mou with the intention of making her inherit the throne. How could he sell the future emperor of the country for a single stalk of spirit beast grass? Just as he was about to reject the other party's offer, Mou stepped forward. Father, since Prince Fei Xian is proposing to me, may I offer my views on this matter? Feel free. Mo Tianxue nodded. In truth, I don't have any objections to getting married. However, glancing at Prince Fei Xian, Mou spoke impassively, you are also aware that I am a beast tamer. My tamed beast doesn't have a good temper, and if someone were to approach me, it would immediately fly into a temper. As such, I fear for Prince Fei Xian's life if he were to marry me. Thus, only if he is capable of defeating my tamed beast will agree to the marriage. Defeat your tamed beast? Do you mean it? Prince Fei Xian's eyes lit up. Of course. Chuckling lightly, Mou raised her hand and a massive viridescent eagle flew into the hall. Chapter 344, You are the one who has a problem with your head. Qiao. Tilting its head up proudly, the viridescent eagle stared at Prince Fei Xian arrogantly. Viridescent eagle? Prince Fei Xian immediately identified the savage beast. He wasn't a beast tamer, but he had a fundamental level of understanding of savage beasts. This savage beast was relatively strong as compared to other aerial savage beasts, but due to the limitations of its talents, it had a cultivation cap of Tongxian realm Pinnacle. Prince Fei Xian himself was a Tongxian realm Pinnacle cultivator as well, and given his numerous trump cards, it wasn't too a difficult task for him to defeat it. As the prince of a kingdom, he cultivated the best cultivation technique and the most profound battle techniques. If he couldn't even triumph over a savage beast who was capable of mere brute force, it would truly be a huge embarrassment. Chuckling lightly, he turned to Mou and said, "Can I hold Princess Mou to her words? As long as I defeat this viridescent eagle, will you agree to the marriage?" Mou nodded her head. "However, if you lose, you'll have to leave immediately." "Of course. If I can't even defeat your tamed beast, what rights do I have to marry you?" Prince Fei Xian's eyes were glowing with excitement. Mou's talent and beauty were well known even in the surrounding kingdoms, and many princes desired to take her hand in marriage. In truth, he didn't bear too much hope for this proposal, so Mou's offer came as an unexpected but pleasant surprise. He might not be confident in anything else, but it definitely wasn't a problem to subdue a Tongxian realm Pinnacle savage beast for him. "Your Highness," Envoy Ranmu frowned as he examined the viridescent eagle carefully. Different from ordinary humans, the source of a savage beast's strength was mainly derived from their physical body. Thus, when they weren't in combat, it was impossible to gauge their strength. As such, despite being at Zongshi realm Pinnacle, Envoy Ranmu was unable to determine how powerful the viridescent eagle. Based on what he knew, the cultivation of a viridescent eagle shouldn't exceed Tongxian realm Pinnacle. Thus, it shouldn't be an opponent for the prince. However, as a master teacher, Princess Mou should be aware of this as well. Her inconceivable confidence in this matter made him hesitate. "It's just a viridescent eagle, there's no need to worry about it." Prince Fei Xian shook his hands casually. "Let's begin then." Chuckling softly, Mou gestured to the viridescent eagle. With a piercing howl, the latter charged straight at Prince Fei Xian, and its gigantic wings swooped down on him. The thick and massive feathers of the viridescent eagle were no different from steel. Due to its incredible strength, even before the attack could land on Prince Fei Xian, a huge gale had already been whipped up in the hall. Under its forceful might, cracks started appearing on the tough granite-tiled floor. "Half Zongshi." This, sensing the incredible strength originating from the other party's wings, the confident Prince Fei Xian nearly fell to the floor in shock. Wasn't the strength of a mature viridescent eagle capped at Tongxian realm Pinnacle? How could this viridescent eagle possibly be at half Zongshi realm? Furthermore, given how adept it was at utilizing its strength, it was likely that it had already advanced to half Zongshi for some time already. Even though it was only a small cultivation realm of a difference between the two realms, the difference in fighting prowess was, in fact, worlds apart. "She got me." Prince Fei Xian immediately realized that he had fallen for the other party's tricks. Alarmed, he quickly pushed against the floor and retreated. "Who?" However, before he could get far, the viridescent eagle's giant body was already in midair once more. Its steel claws tore through space, headed straight for him. Not only was this fellow strong, its adaptability also far surpassed ordinary savage beasts. Upon realizing that its attack wouldn't work, it immediately changed its course of attack. The viridescent eagle had two main offensive techniques, wing sweep and steel claw. Since the first technique fell empty, it used the momentum from its sweep to push its body into the sky to launch the second technique. See La. The air moaned under the pressure, and before Prince Fei Xian could respond, the steel claw had already struck his chest, sending him crashing into a wall. Fresh blood spurted freely from his mouth. You've lost. Mou beckoned with her hands, and the viridescent eagle immediately flew back to her side. Then, turning to Prince Fei Xian, she spoke nonchalantly. Struggling to his feet, Prince Fei Xian's face was livid. He knew that he wouldn't be able to subdue this viridescent eagle easily, but never in his dreams could he expect to be severely injured in just 2 moves. This fellow was way too bizarre. It seemed to understand the art of fighting, as though it was a human. You are cheating due to the limitations of its bloodline. The cultivation of a viridescent eagle can only reach Tongxian realm pinnacle. How could this one be at half Zongshi realm? Only after consuming a recovery pill did Prince Fei Xian's injuries alleviate slightly. Through gritted teeth, he protested. A loss is a loss. Why? Does Prince Fei Xian hopes to renege on his words? Mou answered impassively. This viridescent eagle was the one which Zhang Xian tamed at the Beast Hall via his beast pummeling taming method back then. After its blood had been cleansed by Heaven's Path Xinqi, it managed to successfully advance to half Zongshi realm. Not only so, due to the incredible purity of the Heaven's Path Xinqi, savage beasts whose bloodline was cleansed by it would find their primal instincts being replaced with rationality and intelligence. This was precisely the reason why the viridescent eagle was able to swiftly change its course of attack in the middle of a battle and defeat Fei Xian easily. Back then, in Red Lotus City, as Zhang Xian had managed to tame the half-Shizuan howling firmament beast, it no longer mattered whether he had this fellow or not. Thus, he returned it back to Mou, and Mou rode it back to Tianwu Royal City. Even though she hadn't established a contract with it yet, it possessed a trust level of 30 with her. As such, it was extremely obedient to her. Prince Fei Xian's face turned scarlet. He wanted to retort, but not a single word would come out from his mouth. He had just declared confidently that he would give up if he were to be defeated by the viridescent eagle. Given how he didn't even manage to withstand 2 blows, no matter how thick-skinned he wasn't able to say anything at all. Just as he was conflicted over how he should reply, a eunuch walked in. Your Majesty, Lu Laoshi from Tianwu Academy requests for an audience. Oh. Lu Laoshi. Invite him in quickly. Mo Tianxue's eyes lit up. Yes. The eunuch walked out of the room. Humph. Upon recalling that infuriating fellow, Mou's face darkened. She had always been the center of attention as far as she could remember, and this was the second time that she had been treated like that. Glancing at his daughter's expression, Mo Tianxue shook his head with a smile. Xiao Yu, make sure to build a good relationship with Lu Laoshi, you mustn't be that stubborn anymore. He's the ideal candidate that I have found for you. Ideal candidate? Prince Fei Xian and Envoy Ranmu glanced at one another with an alarmed look. It was no wonder why Emperor Tianxue kept turning them down with all kind of excuses. It seemed like he already found a suitable spouse for Princess Mou in Tianwu Royal City. I would like to see how incredible he is for Emperor Tianxue to act like that. Prince Fei Xian's eyes narrowed into small slits. He immediately felt overwhelming hostility for this Lu Laoshi even though he hadn't met the other party before. A grim expression crept onto Envoy Ranmu's face. They had just arrived at Tianwu Royal City, so they hadn't heard of Lu Laoshi's incredible feat of solving 19 questions on the Wall of Dilemma in a single breath. Even so, to be so highly regarded by Emperor Tianxue, he couldn't help but feel a little curious about the other party. Turning to the entrance of the hall, he saw a young man walking in beside a eunuch. Tongxian Realm Primary Stage. Glancing at one another, frowns appeared on Envoy Ranmu and Prince Fei Xian. They were wondering what kind of talented young man this Lu Laoshi would be, but contrary to the expectations they held, the other party was only a measly Tongxian Realm Primary Stage cultivator. He would be considered as an exceptional genius in remote countries such as Tianxian Kingdom, but in Tier 1 kingdoms, his achievements could only be considered to be slightly above average. Your Majesty. Walking up, this young man known as Lu Laoshi casually clasped his fist. Ah. Upon seeing his actions, the duo was even more perplexed. Under normal circumstances, one should at least bow respectfully upon seeing the emperor. Even if the other party wasn't a subordinate of the emperor, he should at least bow in the capacity as a junior. Yet, this fellow actually greeted him as a fellow peer. Despite being in his 20s and possessing a cultivation realm of Tongxian realm primary stage, he greeted the Zongshi realm Pinnacle emperor as a fellow peer? What kind of identity did he possess? Of the three great clans in Tianwu royal city, the high nobles, and authoritative officials, there doesn't seem to be anyone who goes with the surname of Lu. Envoy Ranmu found the situation inconceivable. Given how they were able to uncover the condition of Tianwu Kingdom's guardian beast, a classified secret, naturally, they were well aware of the various powers within the capital as well. However, they hadn't heard of any powerful figure that goes by the surname of Lu. Even the master teacher pavilion didn't seem to have any master teachers whose surname was Lu. Besides, if he was a master teacher, he would be addressed as Lu Shi instead. Lu Laoshi, you sure kept me waiting. I thought that you would be visiting yesterday. Mo Tianxue smiled bitterly. The other party was a genius physician, as well as the guild leader of the physician guild. Even though he was the emperor of the kingdom, he wasn't in a position to urge him into doing something. Thus, he could only wait silently in the royal palace. Even so, he didn't expect to end up waiting an entire day for the other party. I had urgent matters to attend to yesterday. Zhang nodded. I've said yesterday that I'll conduct one free treatment for you. Who's the one that's sick? Bring him here. After which, Zhang began scanning the surroundings, and soon, his eyes fell on Prince Fei Xian and Envoy Ranmu. Under the other party's gaze, Prince Fei Xian's eyebrows shot up. He had already carried immense hostility for the other party even before his appearance, and yet, at this very moment, the other party was actually insinuating that he was ill. Infuriated, he almost exploded on the spot. You are Lu Laoshi, right? Suppressing his rage, he stepped forward and asked coldly. Zhang stared at him doubtfully. I am the second prince of Kunqian Kingdom. I am here to ask for Princess Mou's hand in marriage. He emphasized on the word marriage, so as to see the other party's reaction to the matter. However, the other party seemed to be completely nonchalant to the matter, as though it was none of his affair. Feeling humiliated by the other party's indifference, he harumphed, since you're the candidate the emperor and the princess have decided on, do you dare to take me on in a duel? Candidate the emperor and princess have decided on? Zhang was bewildered by the situation. Is there something wrong with this fellow? How have I crossed you? You ask for your hand in marriage while I conduct my treatment. Why in the world are you challenging me to a duel when I've only just walked into the hall? Besides, what do you mean by I am the candidate those two have decided on? After a moment of contemplation, a thought suddenly flashed across Zhang head, and he finally understood what was going on. Didn't Mo Tianxue invite him over to treat someone? This fellow kept rambling nonsense, so he must be that sick person on mental illness. It was harder to treat than typical illnesses plaguing the body. He should make full use of this opportunity to highlight the difficulty of the treatment as a leverage for more spirit stones. It would be best if he could obtain two more. The very reason why he came here to conduct a treatment was to obtain spirit stones anyway. Even if the patient's symptom wasn't too severe, he would still have to exaggerate it to ask for more spirit stones. However, judging from the complete nonsense this fellow was speaking, he was definitely severely ill. At the very least, his treatment would be worth 2 to 3 spirit stones. After clearing up his thoughts, Zhang looked at Prince Fei Xian with a look of satisfaction and nodded. Then, he turned to Mo Tianxue, and with a contemplative look, he said, Your Majesty, this patient's illness is extremely severe. His illness lies in the head, and such illnesses are much more difficult to treat than ordinary illnesses. It will take me quite a bit of effort to cure him. Prince Fei Xian thought that the other party's nod represented his consent toward the duel, but upon hearing these words, a mouthful of fresh blood spurted from him and he nearly fainted on the spot. You're the one who is afflicted with mental illness, your whole family is afflicted with mental illness. The character of Lu Laoshir's surname is different from that of Lu Ling. Also, Lu Ling isn't a master teacher of Tianwu Kingdom. Chapter 345, The Viridescent Eagle Who Is Willing to Be Beaten Up, Audacious. Hearing the other party directly insulting the prince as mentally ill, Envoy Ran Mu's face darkened. Our prince is very healthy, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? He is healthy. Zhang Xian was perplexed. Then are you the one who is ill? Mo Tianxue had invited him over to conduct a treatment for someone, so naturally, someone here had to be ill. He had just met with the Emperor and Mou yesterday, so it was impossible for them to be the patients. The only ones left in this hall were the two of them, so who else could it be other than them? You, seething with rage, a mouthful of blood almost spurted from Envoy Ran Mu's mouth. With a reddened face, he flung his sleeves furiously and turned to the throne. Emperor Tianxue, is this how your Tianwu kingdom treats your guests? Our prince might not be the crown prince, but he's still a respected figure in our country, a king personally conferred by our emperor. To allow just anyone to insult him, isn't this a clear provocation toward our Kunqian kingdom? Envoy Ran Mu, calm down. Not expecting Lu Laoshir to say such words, Mo Tianxue was put in an awkward position. He hurriedly explained, Lu Laoshir is a physician who I specially invited over to conduct a treatment. It is due to his failure to recognize you two that he unintentionally offended you. I hope that you can overlook this matter. After which, he turned to Zhang Xian and explained, Lu Laoshir, the two of them are guests of our kingdom, not patients. Oh. Zhang Xian nodded before turning to look at Prince Fei Xian doubtfully. Since he wasn't a patient, why would he utter such gibberish? Seemed like that Kunqian kingdom was nothing after all. To think that even a mentally ill person could be conferred a king. Sensing his intent behind the other party's gaze, Prince Fei Xian nearly spurted blood and fainted. What do you mean? Why are your eyes filled with pity? I am a prince of Kunqian kingdom, a person who is second only to the emperor, the figure of admiration for innumerable people. I don't need your pity. Looking at Prince Fei Xian's maddened look, Mu widened her eyes and she nearly burst into laughter. It was no wonder why Lu Laoshir was able to make her so angry. His ability to get on the nerves on others was truly unparalleled. With just a few words, he was able to make the calm Prince Fei Xian seething with so much rage that he was ready to kill anyone at this moment. In a sense, this was already a wonder in itself. She was initially rather discontented with him as well, but seeing him leaving Prince Fei Xian on the verge of erupting, her grudge with the other party vanished and she nodded her head in satisfaction, forcefully suppressing his anger. Prince Fei Xian glared at Lu Laoshir coldly. If you dare not duel with me, just say so. There's no need for you to come up with such excuses. He had lost his dignity before the princess just a moment ago, and at this moment, he was being mocked once again by this nobody. As a prideful prince of Kunqian kingdom, this was something he couldn't accept. Duel? What do you want to compete in? Seeing how the other party was so adamant as to compete with him, Zhang Xian felt slightly dismayed. I'll conduct my treatment while you ask for Mo Yu's hand in marriage. Why are you so intent on fighting with me? Simple. Princess Mo Yu has personally said that she would only marry a person who could defeat her tamed beast. If you can defeat her tamed beast, I'll admit defeat. How about it, do you have the guts to take on the challenge? Sneering coldly, Prince Fei Xian flung his sleeves. It was just a moment ago that he lost his pride to the Viridescent eagle. Since this fellow dared to step on his toes, he wouldn't let him off the hook easily. In any case, Princess Mo Yu was the one who decided the rules. If you're unable to pass this test as well, let's see how Mo Tianxue will respond to this matter. In truth, the thought of Lu Laoshir defeating the Viridescent eagle had never flashed across his mind. Despite being a Tongxian realm Pinnacle expert, Prince Fei Xian was defeated by the Viridescent eagle in just 2 moves. Given how this young man before him was only at Tongxian realm primary stage, how could he possibly withstand the attack of a half Zongshi realm savage beast? Defeat her savage beast? Turning around, Zhang finally noticed the viridescent eagle beside Mou. Even with the sharp senses of a savage beast, the viridescent eagle was unable to see through Zhang disguise. That's right. If you dare not accept the challenge, I advise you to stop pestering Princess Mou. She doesn't have any interest in weaklings like you. The corners of Prince Fei Xian's mouth curled up. This Zhang intended to simply disregard that arrogant lad, conduct whatever treatment required of him, and leave when a thought suddenly flashed through his mind and his eyes lit up. Wasn't the other party a prince? Then he should have spirit stones, right? At this moment, Prince Fei Xian suddenly didn't look as hateful as before. Rather, in Zhang view, he looked like a huge treasure trove instead. It isn't anything much for me to defeat this savage beast, but since you wish to compete with me, there should at least be some bet involved, right? Bet? Prince Fei Xian was stunned. The loser loses the right to pursue Princess Mou. Wasn't this the bet? How about this? As cultivators, spirit stones are of utmost importance to us. If I defeat this savage beast, you'll give me 1 spirit stone. On the other hand, if I lose, I'll give 1 to you. Do you dare to accept this wager? The corners of Zhang mouth inched upward as he taunted the other party. Spirit stone. Prince Fei Xian's eyes narrowed. Spirit stones were incomparably valuable, and even as a prince, he only had 1 in his possession. His father had given it to him, and he intended to use it to advance to Zongshi realm. To use this spirit stone as a bet? Why? You don't dare. If you don't dare, let's drop this matter then. I'm not interested in dealing with that eagle anyway. Zhang stretched his back lazily. Why would I fear you? Seeing the other party's casual and nonchalant attitude, Prince Fei Xian could no longer rein himself back anymore. Let's do just that then. Your Highness Envoy Ran Mu immediately tried to persuade him otherwise. Spirit Stone was a lacking resource even for Kunxian Kingdom's royal family. The only reason why Prince Fei Xian was bestowed with 1 Spirit Stone was due to his standing as a king of the kingdom. It was too big of a gamble to use it in a bet. Don't worry, he's just putting on a brave front. I don't believe that a mere Tongxian realm primary stage cultivator can triumph against a Zongshi realm savage beast. Prince Fei Xian harumphed. The difference between each small cultivation realm was vast, especially between that of a Tongxian realm and Zongshi. At Zongshi, one would have already attained the disposition of a Grandmaster. Usually, even 4 to 5 Tongxian realm Pinnacle cultivators working together would be unable to defeat a Zongshi realm cultivator, needless to say, a mere Tongxian realm primary stage cultivator. Without a doubt, Lu Laoshi would be destroyed in an instant. In his opinion, the only reason why the other party had raised such a bet was to scare him off. With a flick of his wrist, Prince Fei Xian took out a jade box and opened it. A transparent stone could be seen in it, and in a small area around it, one could see a dense congregation of spiritual energy. Spirit Stone. Here is my Spirit Stone. May I know where is yours? Holding his Spirit Stone up, Prince Fei Xian turned to Lu Laoshi. Mine? Of course I have it with me. If I were to lose, I'll definitely hand it over to you. Zhang said. If you don't believe me, you can verify it with His Majesty. His Spirit Stone had already been reduced to dust after being absorbed dry. Naturally, he couldn't take anything out. However, if he were to say that he didn't have a Spirit Stone now, the other party would probably back down in this instant. Lu Laoshi does have a Spirit Stone. I gave him one as a present yesterday. Even though Mo Tianxue didn't know where Lu Laoshi's confidence comes from, he hesitated for a moment and eventually nodded. All right. Prince Fei Xian gestured grandly. Go on then. Princess Mou, I hope that you won't get your savage beast to go easy on the other party. Otherwise, don't blame me for not obeying the rules you set just a moment ago. While he did have the intention to humiliate Lu Laoshi by inciting him to battle with the Viridescent Eagle, he also hoped to reverse his bet with Mou through this matter. Once that fellow loses, let's see how you can still marry him. Mou frowned. She hesitated for a moment, and eventually, she felt that she should say a thing or two to persuade the other party. Lu Laoshi, you should reconsider your decision. My Viridescent Eagle has reached half Zongshi realm. With the other party's Tongxian realm primary stage cultivation, he would surely be unable to withstand the attacks of the half Zongshi realm Viridescent Eagle. Her father intended for her to befriend the other party, and if he were to be injured by her tamed beast before she could build an intimate relationship with him, it would be difficult to mend this tear in the future. Hearing Mou's words, Prince Fei Xian was infuriated. When I promised to fight your tamed beast, you immediately agreed to it happily, as though you couldn't wait for me to embarrass myself. Yet, when it's his turn, you started to hesitate. What in the world do you mean by that? I've already taken on the wager, and if you were to take back your words now, it'll be considered as your loss. Surely Princess Mou wouldn't wish to see Lu Laoshi suffering a defeat without even trying? Harumphing coldly, Prince Fei Xian said. Princess, thank you for your advice. However, it doesn't make a difference to me. Zhang Xian nodded in response to Mou's goodwill before turning his attention back to Prince Fei Xian. I will fight with this Viridescent Eagle, but I would like to clarify your definition of defeat first. Defeat refers to the Viridescent Eagle being reduced to state such that it dares not make a move against you. Placing his hands behind his back, Prince Fei Xian said. All right. Zhang Xian nodded. Then, he turned to the Viridescent Eagle and beckoned with his forefinger, come over here and let me beat you up. I'll beat you until you are no longer able to retaliate. Cough cough. Upon hearing those words, Princess Mou and Emperor Mo Tianxue swayed from side to side and they nearly fainted. The aggressive nature of savage beasts made them react violently to provocations. Not only did you beckon it with your finger, you even spoke such arrogant words. Aren't you afraid that the Viridescent Eagle would kill you with a slap from its wings? You're courting death. Initially, Prince Fei Xian was still fearful that the other party had some tricks up his sleeves. However, after hearing the other party utter such provocative words, Prince Fei Xian's eyes immediately glowed in excitement. Despite having not provoked the Viridescent Eagle, he was nearly beaten to his death. For the other party to actually taunt the Viridescent Eagle, wasn't he courting his own death? He could already foresee the Viridescent Eagle going on a rampage and reducing this fellow to a lump of meat paste. Chio. Chapter 346, Zhang Xian's identity exposed. Seeing the Viridescent Eagle's attitude, Zhang Xian was speechless as well. When he saw it charging at him, he immediately communicated with it through the contract and verified his identity. And such a sight occurred. After a moment of daze, Zhang Xian soon understood the reason behind the other party's bizarre behavior. Back then, when Zhang Xian pummeled it, he cleansed its bloodline, allowing it to advance to half Zongshi realm. Upon realizing that the man standing before it was its owner, it would be bizarre if it wasn't glad to be beaten up. Seeing the excited expression in its eyes as it waited to be pummeled, Zhang Xian almost choked on his saliva. He turned to Prince Fei Xian and said helplessly. This look, it doesn't dare to stand against me. This is considered as my victory, right? Mo Tianxue and Mou. Prince Fei Xian's vision turned dark. The other party had just asked what would constitute a victory, and he replied confidently that as long as the Viridescent Eagle didn't dare to stand against him, it would be considered as his victory. But the battle hadn't even begun and the Viridescent Eagle had already conceded, and it was currently waiting patiently to be beaten up. What in the world was this? Were they putting on an act? I get it now. Just as Prince Fei Xian was feeling gloomy over the matter, he suddenly thought of something and his eyes lit up. You knew Princess Mou beforehand, so it isn't surprising for this Viridescent Eagle to be close to you. Naturally, it doesn't dare to make a move against you. You cheated. Just a moment ago, this Viridescent Eagle seemed as though it would tear Lu Laoshi's skin off, but at this moment, it was as obedient as a dog. Clearly, it already knew of the other party beforehand. They might even have an intimate relationship with one another. Otherwise, why would the other party submit without retaliating at all? Actually, he wasn't the only one who came to such a conclusion. Envoy Ran Mu and Mo Tianxue shared his view as well. Only Mo Yu knew that it was the first time her Viridescent eagle was meeting Lu Laoshi, and it was impossible for the two to be acquainted beforehand. Spouts maddening words, possesses astonishing talent, incredible medical skills, able to disguise himself, a close relationship with the Viridescent eagle. Why haven't I thought about it before? A thought flashed across Mo Yu's mind and her entire body trembled. Due to her lack of doubt in the information from the master-teacher pavilion and her father, as well as the visible physical difference between Lu Laoshi and that person, she didn't suspect the other party's identity at all. However, upon seeing this sight, she suddenly came to a realization. Others might not be aware of it, but she knew that that person possessed superb medical skills as well. In fact, she even saw it firsthand in Red Lotus City back then. Given how the other party was able to solve an affliction which stumped even 3-star physicians, his means were nothing short of exceptional. Given such, it shouldn't be too difficult for him to solve the questions on the wall of dilemma. She had been thinking that it was such a huge coincidence for two incredible geniuses to appear in Tianwu Royal City all of the sudden. In the end, it turned out that they were the same person. You were the one who chose to take on the wager just now. I didn't force you into it. Oblivious to the fact that the lady before him had already guessed his true identity, Zhang Xian turned to Prince Fei Xian and glanced at him disdainfully. Surely you aren't going to renege on your words just because you are unwilling to part with your spirit stone. To be unwilling to pay even a mere spirit stone, you sure are a poor bloke. You, Prince Fei Xian's face reddened. No matter what, he was a prince. To be criticized as a poor bloke, he was about to explode. But regardless of how it had occurred, it was true that he had lost. He was the one who requested for the duel, and he agreed to the wager himself too. In fact, he was the one to state the conditions for victory in the competition as well. There was no doubt whatsoever that he had lost, and there was no excuse he could come up with to shirk payment. It's just a loss, I won't go to the extent of denying it. With a jerk of his hands, Prince Fei Xian passed the jade box over. Then, clenching his fist, he said, Lu fellow, you might have triumphed over me once, but do you dare to wager with me once more? The bet will still be that spirit stone. Wager? What should we wager on? Zhang Xian turned to look at him. It's simple. I don't mind letting you win even though you cheated, but do you dare to have a fair duel with me? Prince Fei Xian gritted his teeth. He was truly infuriated at this point. You might be able to get the Viridescent eagle to be willingly be beaten up by you, but let's see how you can use the same technique on me. As a Tongxian realm pinnacle cultivator, he was confident of dealing with a Tongxian realm primary stage weakling. I don't mind having a fair duel with you, but are you sure you can afford the bet? If you don't have any spirit stone, let's just drop the matter. Zhang Xian said. The other party was only a Tongxian realm pinnacle cultivator. Even if Zhang Xian were to suppress his cultivation to Lu Laoshi's level, he was still confident of defeating the other party easily. However, if there were no benefits involved on his part, he wasn't willing to waste his time and effort with the other party. Prince Fei Xian's face reddened. He only had one spirit stone, and the other party had just won it from him. Without chips for a bet, he wasn't in a place to be issuing a wager. If you don't have it, let's just drop the matter. I still have other things to attend to. From the other party's expression, Zhang Xian could tell as much that the other party had no more spirit stone, and thus, he waved his hands impassively in rejection. Since you have no spirit stone, why should I waste my time on you? After all, you are just an insignificant Tongxian realm pinnacle cultivator to me. I don't have a second spirit stone, but I have something of equal value. Seeing the other party's "don't bother me if you don't have any money" attitude, Prince Fei Xian gritted his teeth angrily. With a flick of his wrist, he took out a jade box and opened it. Suddenly, a gush of spiritual energy burst into the air. The spiritual energy originated from the medicinal herb within the jade box. It was the spirit beast grass which he brought along with him. Your Highness, not expecting Prince Fei Xian to use this as a bet, Envoy Ranmu hurriedly tried to persuade him. This medicinal herb was extremely beneficial to savage beasts. If this herb were to fall into the hands of Tianwu Kingdom without confirming the matrimony, it could become a disaster to Kunxian Kingdom. If I don't cleanse myself of this shame, how can I meet others in the future? Prince Fei Xian raised his hand, indicating for the other party to speak no further. He had already reached the limit of his tolerance after being humiliated by a nobody teacher multiple times and even losing a spirit stone in the process. If he didn't exact his vengeance and news of this incident were to spread to his homeland, he would surely become a laughingstock. How is it? Do you dare to take me on? Closing the jade box, Prince Fei Xian glanced at Lu Laoshi coldly. This is spirit beast grass. After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Xian asked. The books he had read in Tianxian Kingdom's apothecary guild regarding medicinal herbs had already been assimilated into his mind through the golden page. As such, he was able to identify this valuable medicinal herb easily. That's right. This spirit beast grass has several centuries of maturity to it, and its value is comparable to a spirit stone, exceeding it even. I will use it right now as a bet against your spirit stone. How about it, do you dare to take on the wager? Prince Fei Xian said. The spirit beast grass may be valuable but it's of no use to me. I only want spirit stones. If you have any other spirit stone, I'll gladly take you on your wager right now, Zhang Xian said. Spirit beast grass was only effective to savage beasts. Even though it was filled with spiritual energy as well, it wasn't suited for a human cultivator's absorption. On top of that, the spirit beast grass couldn't compare up to his Heaven's Path Xinqi in terms of effectiveness in cleansing a savage beast's bloodline to raise their cultivation realm. There was no need for him to go through so much trouble to obtain something he had no use for. Seeing the other party coming up with such excuses despite him taking out such a valuable object, Prince Fei Xian felt as though he was boiling inside. Emperor Tianxue, can this spirit beast grass of mine be traded for 2 spirit stones? Spirit beast grass is an extremely rare commodity, of course you can. Mo Tianxue's eyes lit up. This was the item he had wanted, but the other party was unwilling to trade it for anything but Mo's hand in marriage. He wasn't ready to sour the relationship between both countries by taking it by force either. Thus, upon hearing that the other party was willing to pawn it for spirit stones, he immediately felt agitated. Did you hear that? This spirit beast grass can be traded for 2 spirit stones. If I were to lose, you can take the herb and trade it with Emperor Tianxue. If I were to win, not only must you repay me the spirit stone you just won, you must compensate me with an additional one on top of that. Do you dare to accept my wager? Prince Fei Xian gritted his teeth. This grass can be traded for 2 spirit stones. Great! A smile crept onto Zhang Xian's face. He was just in a dilemma as to where he could obtain more spirit stones when this fellow delivered it to his door. He was truly a Samaritan. On the other hand, Mou slapped her forehead. If her conjecture was right, the person before her was a Zongshi realm expert, not to mention, a 2-star master teacher for a mere Tongxian realm pinnacle cultivator to challenge a 2-star master teacher. Indeed, the ignorant was fearless. Without any doubt, Prince Fei Xian would surely lose. Shaking her head, Mou almost felt sorry for him. At this moment, her father's voice suddenly sounded beside her. Xiaoyu, will guild leader Lu be alright? Mou had a rough idea who Lu Laoshi could be, but Mo Tianxue was still kept in the dark. Given the present circumstances on the surface, it was unavoidable that he would be worried. In his perspective, even though Lu Laoshi was a talented individual, his cultivation was his greatest flaw. Possessing just a cultivation of Tongxian realm primary stage, Mo Tianxue didn't think well of the other party's fighting prowess. He didn't think that Lu Laoshi would be a match for the Tongxian realm pinnacle prince. Don't worry, just wait and see. Mou shook her head. If Lu Laoshi was truly Zhang Xian, then her father might not even be a match for him. Needless to say, this prince. Even though Mo Tianxue had no idea why Mou was so confident in Lu Laoshi, he trusted his daughter's judgment as a master teacher. Thus, he turned his attention to the duo below. Since you've agreed to it, let's begin. Prince Fei Xian even prepared a long speech to shoot down all of the excuses the other party could give. Thus, when the other party agreed to it directly, Prince Fei Xian froze for a moment. But slowly, his eyes started to glow. Given that it was a formal duel, the other party wouldn't be able to blame him even if his blows landed heavily. He was determined to make the other party regret offending him. I don't have much time, so let's not bother finding any other locations and just hold the duel here. Zhang Xian said. Since you're courting death, don't blame me for it. Prince Fei Xian sneered coldly in his minded. Savagery painted his face as he opened up his palm and charged straight toward Zhang Xian. Hoo. Before he could even reach Zhang Xian, his Jinqi as a Tongxian realm pinnacle cultivator had already whipped up a powerful storm in the room, tearing apart the granite floor. Even though Prince Fei Xian was arrogant, he had the strength to be so. He possessed superior fighting ability even compared to those of the same cultivation realm. What kind of moves should I use to teach this fellow a lesson without revealing my true strength? Seeing the other party rush over, Zhang Xian hesitated for a moment. He was currently impersonating Lu Cheng, who only possessed the cultivation of Tongxian realm primary stage. If he were to defeat the other party too easily, everyone would definitely realize that there was something amiss. Thus, he had to think of a way to defeat the other party without revealing his true strength. Just as Zhang Xian was in the midst of his contemplation, a gray silhouette flashed across the room. Before Prince Fei Xian's palm could land, a giant talon suddenly appeared right before him. Pang! With a dull thud, Prince Fei Xian was sent flying backward at an incredible speed. Taken aback, Zhang Xian lifted his head and saw the viridescent eagle standing in front of him. The fellow who was knocked back by its talon was currently spurting mouthful after mouthful of blood after crashing into the wall. The heck, Prince Fei Xian really cried. What was wrong with this viridescent eagle? When you were ordered to beat Lu Laoshi up, not only did you not lay your hands on it, you even closed your eyes to allow him to pummel you, yet when it's my turn to attack, you just had to charge up and kick me. Are you Princess Mou's tamed beast or Lu Laoshi's? Dismayed, he was just about to push himself up when he felt astonishing weight pushing against his body. The massive physique of the viridescent eagle suddenly crushed down on him as though a giant mountain. A continuous creaking sound echoed beneath him. Viridescent eagle, what are you trying to do? This is my duel with Prince Fei Xian, what are you interfering in it for? Besides, even if you want to beat him up, you should wait until I'm done first. Can't you see that I'm trying to earn some spirit stones now? If you wreck my money-making plans, I will barbecue you to eat, you undisciplined fellow, take note of it in the future. Don't act so rashly next time. Only operate after you are certain of my intentions. A lecturing voice sounded, and Prince Fei Xian nearly blacked out after hearing those words. Blood trickled down from the edge of his lip, and at the same time, tears gushed down his cheeks. Brother, even if you wish to teach this savage beast a lesson, can you get it off me first? If it were to continue crushing me, before you're done lecturing it, I would have been dead already. Chapter 347, Grandmaster Physician. Your Highness, seeing that the viridescent eagle was crushing on the prince, and that the prince was spurting mouthful and mouthful of blood such that his face had already turned pale and it seemed as though he would die at any moment, he bellowed and charged forward. Release your Highness. With reddened eyes, Envoy Mu charged toward Lu Laoshi and stretched out his hand, preparing to strike the latter. The viridescent eagle seemed to be extremely obedient to this fellow, so he deemed it likely that the savage beast was operating under his commands. Envoy, what are you doing? Seeing the other party making a move against Lu Laoshi, Mo Tianxue bellowed from the throne. So, a gray-robed man suddenly appeared from nowhere and faced the envoy's offense with a palm of his own. Pang! The two palms clashed together, and the duo took a step back each. The gray-robed man was a Zongshi realm Pinnacle expert as well. A member of the royal family's shadow squad. After blocking Envoy Mu's assault, the gray-robed man's body blurred and he disappeared in the hall once more, as though his appearance was just an illusion. This Envoy Mu's eyebrows twitched. As a Zongshi realm Pinnacle expert, he didn't think very highly of the Tianwu royal palace. He thought that he would be able to escape easily even if the emperor meant them harm given his strength. But from the looks of it now, his thoughts were truly laughable. This seemingly peaceful hall was actually filled with many experts of the gray-robed man's caliber lurking in the shadows. It is due to my overzealousness to save His Highness that I acted so rashly. Please pardon me, Emperor Tianxue. Adjusting his breathing, Envoy Mu suppressed the raging Zhongshi within him and apologized. Don't worry, your prince is fine. Mo Tianxue waved his hands casually. Envoy Ran Mu turned around and saw that the Viridescent eagle had released its talon from Prince Fei Xian. With a pale face and a trembling body, the latter slowly pushed himself up. While he was severely injured, it didn't hurt his vitals, so there wasn't any threat on his life. Your Highness, Envoy Ran Mu hurried forward to support the other party, but the latter simply shook him off. You cheated. It was supposed to be a fair duel, but you got your savage beast to assault me. Prince Fei Xian gritted his teeth as he glared at the young man before him. If he could, he would have crushed him into mere lumps of meat at this very moment. This was way too much. It was supposed to be a fair duel, and they even made a wager on it. Yet, the other party secretly ordered his savage beast to assault him. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? This Zhang Xian scratched his head indignantly. Upon realizing that Zhang Xian didn't intend to beat it, the Viridescent eagle was extremely frustrated. Thus, when it saw that someone was laying his hands on its master, all of its pent-up frustration immediately burst forth. In truth, Zhang Xian didn't order the Viridescent eagle to do anything at all. Seeing the other party's indignant look, Prince Fei Xian felt so maddened that his wounds nearly aggravated. I am the one who was beaten up. What in the world are you feeling indignant for? Can you at least know some sense of shame? He was about to explode from anger when he heard the young man speaking apologetically. It is this Viridescent eagle's recklessness that it unintentionally offended you. How about this, I'll get it to leave now so that we can conduct a fair duel. I promise you that this fellow won't cause any more trouble. Hearing those words, Prince Fei Xian spurted another mouthful of blood. This wasn't a problem of whether the Viridescent eagle would cause any more trouble or not. I am already severely injured. Just the blood that I have vomited throughout the entire duration probably added up to a few liters. This Prince Fei Xian and Envoy Ran Mu glanced at one another. There's really no need to worry, those are just minor injuries. Walking up, Zhang Xian reached out to support Prince Fei Xian. Envoy, there's no need to worry. Since guild leader Lu has said such words, Prince Fei Xian is in good hands. Mo Tianxue stroked his beard and consoled. No matter what, Lu Laoshe was a Grandmaster physician who had solved 19 questions on the Wall of Dilemma. Mo Tianxue didn't think that this kind of superficial wound could stumble him. Alright then, hearing the confidence in the other party's tone, Envoy Ran Mu hesitated for a moment before stepping aside. It wasn't because he trusted Lu Laoshe. What he trusted was that the Physician Guild would care for its reputation, and that Tianwu Kingdom wouldn't dare to turn against Kunqian Kingdom. Even though your highness's injuries didn't reach his vitals, it is still quite severe. I will look forward to seeing Guild Leader Lu's skills then. Harumphing, Envoy Mu stared intently at Guild Leader Lu, curious to see how the other party would treat these injuries. However, before he could finish his words, the actions of the other party left his eyes widened, and he almost spewed a mouthful of blood. Vulgarities burst forth from his mouth. The heck? What are you trying to do? The young man in front of him had lifted his palm, and struck Prince Fei Xian's nape. Before Prince Fei Xian could react, he had already fainted. Mo Tianxue was stunned as well. The ability of this guild leader Lu far surpassed that of the previous guild leader, Mu Hong, so Mo Tianxue gauged the other party's medical skills to be on par with a 4-star or even 5-star physician. He thought that the other party would be able to treat Prince Fei Xian easily, and he was looking forward to seeing his medical skills as well. Yet the other party ended up knocking Prince Fei Xian out with a palm strike instead. Could it be that he wasn't satisfied with the beating the Viridescent Eagle gave him? Hold it right there, Envoy Ran Mu immediately erupted. He swiftly rushed forward, but before he could do anything, a figure appeared before him. It was Princess Mou. Envoy, please calm down. Let guild leader Lu finish his work first. If Mo Yu was still doubtful before, upon seeing Lu Laoshi knocking out Prince Fei Xian with a single strike, she was now very certain that the latter had to be Zhang Xian. Back then, when he treated the Great Herb King, he also knocked the other party out first. Since the princess had already said so, Envoy Ran Mu suppressed his rage. Calming himself down, he turned to look at Lu Laoshi and he was taken aback by the sight before him. The culprit, who knocked out the prince, was holding dozens of silver needles between his fingers, and with a light shake, all of them pierced into Prince Fei Xian's acupoints. Then, with a slight movement of his hand, he retrieved all of the silver needles and tapped the prince's glabella with his forefinger. Who? The unconscious Prince Fei Xian abruptly opened his eyes and his body jolted. His entire face warped and he bellowed frenziedly. Lu rascal, what are you up to? If you are a man, you should face me fairly. What do you mean by conducting such sneak attacks? Roaring loudly, his voice echoed throughout the hall. He didn't bear any semblance to an injured patient at all. Your Highness, Envoy Ran Mu blinked in disbelief. Your injuries. Prince Fei Xian froze. He also realized that something was amiss. Trying to drive his Jinqi, he immediately felt overwhelming strength surging through him. This was a sign of a perfectly healthy body. It was as if he had never been injured before. This time, Prince Fei Xian was truly astounded. It was just a few moments ago that he was still spewing mouthful after mouthful of blood. Yet, at this moment, he was as good as new. Did he really just recover that quickly? With just a few needles, he managed to heal His Highness's injuries. Envoy Ran Mu was also in a state of disbelief. It was only at this moment that he finally understood why Emperor Tianxue valued this lad so highly, even though he only possessed a cultivation of Tongxian realm primary stage. Just his medical skill in itself was sufficient to make any kingdom go insane for him. It's just some minor injuries. Zhang Xian shook his hands casually. Now that you've recovered, we should continue with our duel. It was due to the huge disparity between the other party's cultivation and his true cultivation that he was able to treat him so easily. If the other party's cultivation was equal or higher than him, it would be much more troublesome than this. Prince Fei Xian was taken aback for a moment before he replied, I am in awe of guild leader Lu's astounding medical skills. I humbly apologize for my inability to notice your capability. If I have offended you before, I hope that you can forgive me. As for the matter regarding the duel, I have been a little too rash. Thus, I hope that you can just let the matter go. As a prince, he might be proud, but he was no fool. He was extremely dissatisfied with this fellow, but given how the other party was able to treat his wounds so easily and swiftly, his medical skill was definitely at an astounding level. Even if he couldn't get on good terms with the other party, it would be best not to offend him. Otherwise, even Kunshan Kingdom wouldn't be able to protect him. Let the matter go. Zhang Xian was stunned. How can I just let the matter go? That's 2 spirit stones. If they don't duel, Zhang Xian couldn't possibly steal from him, right? I didn't know that Lu Laoshi is an outstanding physician, as well as the guild leader of the Physician Guild. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have proposed this duel and would have admitted defeat straight, Prince Fei Xian quickly added. He finally understood why Emperor Tianxue was so lenient with the Lu Laoshi. This young man was truly someone that he couldn't afford to offend. Physicians may not possess the rallying ability on par with that of a master teacher, but one would do well not to underestimate them. In any case, as a mere prince, it would be wise for him to avoid treading on Lu Laoshir's toes. But before he could finish his words, he heard the young man before him lament, "What? You're admitting defeat straight? I do feel a little embarrassed taking this spirit beast grass without competing for it." Prince Fei Xian was stupefied. Those were only pleasantries to resolve the situation, how can you take them for real? As the guild leader of the physician guild, a grandmaster physician, can you at least have some sense of shame? Panicking, Prince Fei Xian opened his mouth to explain, but the young man before him had already taken the jade box from his hand and kept it inside his storage ring. After which, he looked at him sheepishly and said, "I'll take the medicinal herb then. Your Highness sure is generous to admit defeat so frankly. I do feel a little guilty winning the bet just like that." What a joke. The reason for his trip here was to procure spirit stones. Since this medicinal herb could be traded for 2 spirit stones, how could he let it escape from him? Generous? Guilty? The corners of Prince Fei Xian's mouth twitched. He had seen shameless people, but it was his first time seeing someone completely devoid of his sense of shame. You took my medicinal herb away on your own accord and said that I am generous your head. Guilty? Why do I only see a bright smile on your face? If not for the overwhelming facts before him, he could have never believed that this shameless fellow could be a highly skilled grandmaster physician. Chapter 348, Guardian Beast, I won't take your medicinal herb for free. How about this then? Just as Prince Fei Xian was dismayed over the daylight robbery, the young man before him spoke. Just like with Emperor Tianxue, I'll offer you a free treatment. Even though Zhang Xian was determined to grab the spirit beast grass, which was equivalent to 2 pieces of spirit stones, he didn't think that it was appropriate for him to take it for free. Placing his hands behind his back, he walked around Prince Fei Xian and said, "When I was treating you, I realized that there are some blockages in your meridians, resulting in your Zhongshi being unable to flow smoothly. While your body seems fine on the surface, it is actually a little weak. If I'm not wrong, do you find it hard to wake up early and difficult to sleep at night recently?" Prince Fei Xian was seriously contemplating whether he should snatch the spirit beast grass back when he heard Zhang Xian's words. His body trembled and his face paled. You, how did you know? He had indeed been facing such a problem recently. The blockages in his meridian prevented his Zhongshi from flowing smoothly. On top of that, the lack of quality sleep made him constantly grumpy and frustrated. If not for the case, he would have attempted to use the spirit stone to attempt a breakthrough to half Zongshi realm already. He wouldn't have to keep it with him all this time, eventually resulting in him losing it to the fellow before him. However, these were things that he had never told anyone before. Even Envoy Ranmu beside him knew nothing about it, so how could this Lu Laoshir know of it? Did he really notice something? I am a physician, and I've checked on your physical condition while treating you a moment ago. Naturally, I would know it. Zhang Xian nodded. Guild leader, I beseech you to help me. With a pale face, Prince Fei Xian clasped his fist respectfully. The arrogance from before had disappeared completely at this instant. This illness had prevented him from concentrating, thus resulting in the stagnation of his cultivation. The spirit beast grass was valuable, but if he could have his condition treated in exchange, it would be well worth the cost. Actually, the problem is simple. Your talent is not bad, but under normal circumstances, it shouldn't have been possible for you to reach Tongxian realm pinnacle at your age. If I'm not mistaken, in order to raise your cultivation, you utilized some unique methods, right? I will tell you up front that it's precisely those methods that left you with a trauma, thus inducing such symptoms. Zhang Xian said. Prince Fei Xian's body shuddered. The other party was right. His talent could only be considered as above average. The royal family was a cold and brutal place. Without sufficient strength, he would meet with all kinds of trouble and danger. For the sake of his survival, he could only look for ways to raise his cultivation swiftly. Thus, he used a secret art, which involved the consumption of some unique medicinal herbs, to stimulate his acupoints and trigger his potential. Even though he managed to improve swiftly, it had left traumas in his body. Could it be that his recent physical condition was a result of this? Exactly. I will prepare a prescription for you. If you follow it strictly, your trauma should be solved completely within a month. By then, it should be possible for you to attempt the breakthrough for Half-Zongshi realm. Smiling, Zhang Xian walked to a nearby table, took out brush and paper from his storage ring, wrote a prescription, and passed it over. Thank you, Guild Leader Lu. Grabbing the prescription, Prince Fei Xian's face flushed in agitation. He had been tortured by this condition for quite a while, causing him to be lethargic, absent-minded, and irritable. This was precisely the reason why he was unable to hold himself back as soon as he felt provoked by Zhang Xian, resulting in the lack the restraint that he, as a prince, should possess. If he could treat his condition and advance to Half-Zongshi realm, then this prescription was truly something too valuable to him. Putting aside a spirit stone and a stalk of spirit beast grass, even if he had to give in his entire fortune, he would be willing to do so. This was because Kunxian Kingdom hadn't chosen a crown prince yet. If he could reach Half-Zongshi, there was an extremely high chance that the seat would be his. Waving casually, Zhang Xian turned to Mo Tianxue and said, Your Majesty, please bring the patient here. I still have some things to attend afterward. Just like the others, Mo Tianxue was also in a state of shock. After hearing those words, he quickly recovered and stood up. Guild Leader Lu, the condition of this patient is slightly unique, so I will have to trouble you to proceed over to meet him. You want me to go over? Sure, lead the way. Zhang Xian nodded. Prince Fei Xian and Envoy Ran Mu, you two should rest at the embassy for now. Mo Tianxue turned to the duo and clasped his fist. We will be taking our leave. The duo knew that it was an important matter of Tianwu Kingdom, and that they didn't want too many people to learn about it. Thus, they turned around and left as well. A eunuch hurried up to them and escorted them out. Guild Leader Lu, this way please. After the duo had left, Mo Tianxue started leading the way. Zhang Xian followed closely behind him, but he had barely taken a few steps before a faint aroma drifted to his nose. After which, a telepathic voice sounded. Zhang Xian, Zhang Shi. You sure have deceived me well, cough cough. Zhang Xian was taken aback. Princess Mou, you must be mistaken. I am Lu Cheng, not Zhang Shi. If you don't want to admit to it, so be it. I wanted to tell you about an interesting matter, but since you're behaving in such a manner, let's forget about it then. Seeing how the other party refused to admit to it, Mo Yu harumphed. What she wanted to tell Zhang Xian was the duel between Xiaoye and Mu Xueqing. However, since this fellow was unwilling to admit to the matter, she couldn't be bothered either. In any case, they are both your students. Whether they fight or not is none of my business. Seeing the lady turn her head and walking away in displeasure, Zhang Xian shook his head. It seemed like he would have to pay careful attention when being around those who were familiar with him. Otherwise, there was a good chance he would give his identity away. He had been together with Mou for quite a period of time, and not to mention, there was the matter with the Viridescent eagle as well. As such, he wasn't too surprised to know that the other party had managed to figure his identity out. Princess Mou, this is a test from the Master Teacher Pavilion, so I hope that you won't leak this out. Knowing that the other party was already certain of his identity, Zhang Xian felt that it was impossible to keep it hidden anymore. Thus, he replied to Mou's words. Don't worry. I am not the type to gossip about such stuff. Seeing Zhang Xian admit to the matter, Mou smiled. Since you've admitted to it, I won't hide the matter from you then. Come and find me tomorrow noon, I'll bring you to see a good show. Tomorrow noon? What good show? Zhang Xian was perplexed. You'll know once you're there. Mou grinned. Seeing the confusion on his face, it was clear that Zhang Xian didn't know about Zhao Ye and Mu Xueqing's duel. It would be fun to see his reaction when she brings him there tomorrow. Honestly speaking, she was curious to see how he would react to the sight of two of his students fighting one another for his honor. This fellow had always infuriated her, so she wanted to make use of this opportunity to get back at him. Of course, to do so, she had to stop this fellow from returning to the academy first. Otherwise, given the many mouths there, it was extremely probable that he would find out about it in advance. If so, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Thus, she started scheming her plan as she walked beside Zhang Xian. "We're here." Just as Zhang Xian was about to ask matter it was that warranted her to behave so secretively, Mo Tianxue's voice sounded. Lifting his head, Zhang Xian realized that they were at the entrance of a vast courtyard. The courtyard wasn't exceptionally big, but for some reason, he was unable to see the other end of the courtyard. It was as if something had sealed off the area, concealing whatever that was inside. Could this be a formation? Zhang Xian thought. Only a formation could possess the ability to hide the interior of a courtyard from those standing outside. The one who requires guild leader Lu's treatment isn't a human but our kingdom's guardian beast. Seemingly sensing the other party's bewilderment, Mo Tianxue explained. Guardian beast? Indeed. Our Tianwu kingdom doesn't have any powerful old ancestor, so we depend heavily on our guardian beast to guard our territory and deter aggressors. Mo Tianxue explained. However, along with the passing of time, our guardian beast has been growing older, and its strength and stamina is on the decline. Just some time ago, it fell severely ill and it doesn't seem like it has long to live. Thus I thought of troubling guild leader Lu to diagnose it to see whether there is a cure for it or not. If not, I am hoping that you would be able to extend its lifespan, at least until Mu matures. Zhang Xian nodded. If a kingdom wanted to grow peacefully, there must be a sufficiently powerful guardian present in the country to deter aggressors. It was just like old ancestor Shen Hong with Tianxian Kingdom. Without his presence serving as a deterrence, it was highly likely that other kingdoms may invade Tianxian Kingdom to annex it. As it was entirely impossible to avoid wars and conflicts, the Master-Teacher Pavilion would usually stay out of such affairs. Unless it had really close ties with the kingdom that compelled it into action, otherwise, for most cases, it would maintain its neutrality. After all, even if the kingdom were to switch hands, no one would dare to lay their hands on the continent's most powerful occupation. In other words, no matter how many kingdoms were destroyed, the influence of the Master-Teacher Pavilion wouldn't be rattled at all. This formation, Zhang Xian stared at the formation doubtfully. Since it was where the guardian beast lived, why did they set up a formation here? The guardian beast is already old, and due to its severe illness, it has been on a rampage recently, hurting several people. Left with no choice, I could only invite the experts of the Formation Master Guild to set this formation to confine it. Given its strength, if it were to run wild in the palace, no one would be able to stop it. Mo Tianxue smiled bitterly. Hearing the other party's explanation, Zhang Xian came to a realization. No matter whether one was a human or a savage beast, one couldn't possibly wait idly for one's death as an illness slowly ground away on one's lifespan. At the very least, one would wish to struggle a little, even if it would be futile, in hope of earning some additional time. However, if the guardian beast were to really struggle for its life, it would spell a calamity for Tianwu Kingdom. Thus, the emperor chose to confine it using a formation so as to avoid needless trouble. Guild leader Lu, I have already invited a Grandmaster of the Formation Master Guild over to bring us in. Otherwise, if we were to walk in by ourselves while the formation is still active, we might get lost, Mo Tianxue said. In order to prevent the guardian beast from escaping, the formation had to be active at all moment. However, due to the complexity of the formation, even Mo Tianxue, the emperor of the kingdom, didn't know the way in. Only a Grandmaster of the Formation Master Guild was able to tread through the formation freely. Zhang Xian nodded. He didn't know a thing about formations. Even though he had collected a significant number of books on the subject in the Master-Teacher Pavilion, he hadn't had the time to browse through them yet. Thus, his understanding of formation was still stuck at the level of knowing its name. Since the formation is active, will the Library of Heaven's Path be able to see its flaws? Standing on the spot, a thought suddenly appeared in Zhang Xian's mind. The Library of Heaven's Path could see the flaws in a cultivator and his battle technique once he executed a technique. The same also applied when observing an apothecary in the midst of forging pills. The Library of Heaven's Path could compile the flaws in his pill forging technique and determine whether the pill could be successfully forged or not. It was also able to tell the problem when a formation master was setting up a formation. In other words, the Library of Heaven's Path could see the flaws of any ongoing actions. Since this formation was currently in operation, it should be able to be considered as an ongoing action as well. Zhang Xian was suddenly curious to see if he could see the flaws in it through the Library of Heaven's Path. Flaws. With a thought, Zhang Xian hurriedly dived into the Library of Heaven's Path. Wang. The library jolted and a book appeared. It works. Zhang Xian's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly browsed through the book. Chapter 349, Lin Clan, Billowing Waves Confinement Formation, Grade 3 Formation, Flaws. The name and the flaws of the formation were written in the book. Just as Zhang Xian was browsing through the book, Mo Tianxue suddenly turned around and clasped his fist, Grandmaster Lin Tao. Retracting his consciousness from his mind, he turned around and saw an elder walking toward them. The other party's chin was slightly tilted upward, and he had a proud expression on his face. With a cold and nonchalant voice, the other party replied, This is Grandmaster Lin Tao, the Vice-Guild leader of the Formation Master Guild, as well as the Grand Elder of the Lin Clan, one of the 3 great clans of Tianwu Royal City. Seeing the confusion in Zhang Xian's eyes, Mou secretly sent a telepathic message over. The Vice-Guild leader of the Formation Master Guild. Zhang Xian assessed the elder before him. This elder possessed the cultivation realm of Zongshi realm Pinnacle, and there was a golden emblem on his chest with 2 bright stars embedded on it. 2-star Pinnacle Formation Master. This formation was set up by the guild leader himself, so it should have no problem confining the gold-tailed lion. What happened for you to call me over so urgently all of the sudden? Glancing at Mo Tianxue, Vice-Guild leader Lin Tao frowned. Not only was there not the slightest respect in his tone, and it even seemed as though he was blaming the other party for bothering him. Zhang Xian was perplexed. No matter what, Mo Tianxue was the emperor of Tianwu Kingdom, and with his esteemed standing, even Pavilion Master Zhang would have to take on a respectful tone with him. Yet, wasn't this mere Vice-Guild leader of the Formation Master Guild acting a little way too arrogant? Even if Formation Master was one of the top occupation among the upper 9 paths, and their formations allowed them to display a might far beyond their level, their standing still couldn't possibly be above that of the number 1 occupation in the world. It's because he's from the Lin Clan. The Lin Clan is an exception in this kingdom. Sensing the other party's bewilderment, Mou sent another message. Having guessed Zhang Xian's thoughts, she explained the matter. The head of the Lin Clan is the guild leader of the Formation Master Guild. Not only has his cultivation reached Half-Shizuan realm, he is also a 3-star Formation Master as well. Half-Shizuan realm. 3-star Formation Master. The Steel Fang Howling Firmament Beast was at a Half-Shizuan realm. Zhang Xian was well aware how fearsome experts at this level could be. Half-Shizuan realm might only be just half a step higher than Zongshi realm Pinnacle, but at this level, what one would be coming into contact with was the zenith of the fighter realm, power incomparable to the other realms. On top of that, he was a 3-star formation master capable of setting up grade 3 formations. Even real Shizuan realm experts would find it hard to subdue him easily. His strength might be nothing much when placed in a conferred kingdom, but in a Tier 1 kingdom like Tianwu, only the guardian beast confined within was capable of matching him. However, the savage beast was currently ill and went on frequent rampages. It was no wonder why the Lin clan's respect for the royal family had been on a steady decline. Even Pavilion Master Zhang hasn't reached half Shizuan yet. How did he reach that level? After a moment of shock, Zhang Xian found yet another doubt in the matter. Typically speaking, regardless of which kingdom one was in, the master-teacher pavilion would always possess strength that no other guilds could match up to. How could the guild leader of the Formation Master Guild possess strength superior to Pavilion Master Zhang? Actually, guild leader Lin Ruotian has only managed to achieve the breakthrough earlier this year. It can't be helped, he has an outstanding daughter after all, Mou said. Zhang Xian blinked his eyes. His daughter possesses outstanding talent in formations, and as such, she was sent to Xianyuan Academy to study quite a long time ago. Due to some turn of events, the crown prince of Xianyuan Kingdom ended up falling in love with her, and she went on to become the princess consort. Under the halo of her daughter, guild leader Lin Ruotian was bestowed with a pill which allowed him to make the breakthrough into half-Shizuan realm. Mou explained. Zhang Xian finally understood the situation. It wasn't too difficult for the crown prince of a conferred kingdom, given his authority, to obtain a pill that could help a Zongshi realm Pinnacle achieve a breakthrough for his father-in-law. With such a backing, it was no wonder why the Lin clan didn't think much of Mo Tianxue. Even though there was only a single rank of a difference between a Tier 1 kingdom and a conferred kingdom, there was a huge difference in the strength of the two. Under Xianyuan Kingdom's jurisdiction were at least 20 to 30 Tier 1 kingdoms similar to Tianwu. If Tianwu were to offend Xianyuan, the latter could easily eradicate it. After all, Tianwu Kingdom was a country without Shizuan experts at all. Even their strongest individual, their guardian beast, was only at half Shizuan. I have specially invited guild leader Lu Cheng from the Physician Guild here to treat the guardian beast, gold-tailed lion. Mo Tianxue smiled awkwardly as he explained. Thus, I'll have to ask Grandmaster Lin Tao to help remove the formation so that he could enter to take a look. If he succeeds in curing the guardian beast, the Formation Master Guild would be spared the hassle of maintaining the formation. The gold-tailed lion isn't just sick, its lifespan is also nearing its end. Our guild leader has already taken a look at it himself and determined that there's no solution to the problem. The reason why we set up a formation for you to confine the guardian beast is so that it could die in peace. What if guild leader Lu fails to treat it when I remove the formation, and the latter escapes to wreak havoc in the city? Who can take responsibility for the destruction it'll cause? Lin Tao flung his sleeves furiously. This Mo Tianxue was unable to answer the other party's question. The other party was right. It would be ideal if guild leader Lu could treat the guardian beast. However, if the treatment fails and the guardian beast charges out, it could cause a huge catastrophe outside. By then, even as the emperor of Tianwu Kingdom, it would be hard for him to escape blame. Since you're able to set the formation, you should have a way for us to enter and leave it freely. If you're afraid that I'm unable to cure the guardian beast, I can just go in, take a look, and if it's beyond my means, I can simply leave. Zhang Xian couldn't help but interject. Since formation masters were capable of setting up confinement formations, then they must know of a way to enter and exit it freely. After all, there was counterproductive for one to spend their time studying a formation with limited utilization. Initially, the reason why he had agreed to conduct a treatment for the other party was to return the favor for the Spirit Stone, as well as to see if it was possible for him to earn more of it for his cultivation. Due to his gamble with Prince Fei Xian, he had a total of 3 Spirit Stones at hand, and that should be sufficient for him to reach Zongshi Realm Pinnacle. Since his second aim had been met, it was no longer important to him whether he successfully treated the guardian beast or not. But no matter what, he felt that he should at least give guardian beast a look. Even if he was stumped by its condition, at least he had given the matter a try. Who are you to interfere in our conversation? Hearing Lu Laosher's words, Grandmaster Lin Tao's eyebrows shot up as he glanced at the other party disdainfully. I've heard of your matter. You were lucky to solve all of the questions on the Wall of Dilemma, but your strength is only at Tongxian Realm primary stage. Given how you barely qualify as a one-star physician, what right do you have to be the guild leader? No matter what, the physician guild is of equal prestige with our formation master guild. If you want to be the guild leader, you should at least reach the level of a Zongshi realm pinnacle first. Without sufficient strength, it'll best for you to not claim to be as the guild leader so that you don't embarrass yourself. Zhang Xian was speechless. He didn't expect a few casual words he spoke would actually make the other party despise him. It was not like he had asked others to call him guild leader Lu. Besides, it was only the physician guild of a tier 1 kingdom. He didn't think it was a big deal for him to become the guild leader here. Grandmaster, please calm down. Afraid that Zhang Xian would get angry by the other party's words, Mo Tianxue anxiously stepped in to mediate. As long as Grandmaster brings us in, even if we're unable to treat the guardian beast, we can simply leave. This is a grade 3 formation. Do you think that you'll be able to enter and leave as you please? The formation is filled with peril, and even the slightest carelessness can place you in grave danger. It isn't a problem for me to enter alone, but you want me to bring in a Tongxian realm primary stage burden in as well? You must be joking. Grandmaster Lin Tao sneered coldly. Mo Tianxue fell silent. Even though the other party's words were harsh and disrespectful, he was right. A grade 3 formation was something that could trap even a Zhizuan realm expert. Judging from how the gold-tailed tiger was confined for so many days without succeeding in breaking out, it was clear how powerful it was. Even if one knew the pathway in, one needed to be strong enough to react quickly to the dangers within to avoid them. In this case, a Tongxian realm primary stage cultivator was indeed a little too weak. Once he failed to keep up with their footsteps and got lost within the formation, it would be hard to save him. Mo Tianxue had failed to consider this aspect beforehand, and he only realized the matter after hearing the other party's words. With an awkward expression, he turned to Zhang Xian and said, "Guild leader Lu, I apologize for this." He had invited the other party over, but due to the matter regarding the formation, the other party didn't even get to meet his patient. He couldn't help but feel a little apologetic over this matter. "It's all right." Zhang Xian shook his head. Just then, he suddenly thought of something and asked doubtfully, "Since you can't remove this formation, and there's no way to bring me in either, can't we pause it temporarily? As long as it's paused for a short moment, we shouldn't be in the danger of being trapped within. And after we're in, we can activate it once more. This way, the guardian beast shouldn't be able to escape from its confines." Since it was possible to activate the formation, then surely, there must be a way to pause it as well. Pausing the formation temporarily to enter before activating it once more, wouldn't that solve the problem? Pause it? Mo Tianxue smiled bitterly as he shook his head. Even though he didn't know much about formations, he found it hard to listen on to Zhang Xian's words. Powerful formations harnessed immense power once activated, and unless one destroyed the core of the formation, it would be extremely difficult to pause it. Even the formation master who set the formation up would find it difficult to do so. Unless the formation master was at a much higher level as compared to the formation, thus allowing him to find and exploit the flaws of the formation to accomplish that, otherwise, it was an impossible feat. If everyone could stop formations that easily, then formation master wouldn't be such a fearsome occupation, ranked at the upper echelons of the upper 9 paths, ignorant. The disdain the Lin Tao's eyes deepened. Pausing a grade 3 formation easier said than done. Even the guild leader would be incapable of such a task. Do you even know formations? On the other hand, Mou slapped her forehead. Brother, no matter what, you're a 2-star master teacher. Even if you don't know much about formations, you shouldn't say such amateurish words. A grade 3 formation was something that could trap even a Zhizuan expert. If it could be paused that easily, then what was the use for it? One has to have a profound knowledge of formations before one can pause a formation. In truth, it's much more difficult than simply destroying a formation. Seeing the confusion in the other party's eyes, Mo Tianxue spoke up. Much more difficult than destroying a formation. All right, Zhang Xian contemplated for a moment before saying, "Wait here a moment. Mo Tianxue thought that guild leader Lu would give up on the idea after listening to his explanation, but after everything he had said, all he could see on the other party's face was nonchalance. Wait for a moment, wait for what? Will anything happen if we wait for a moment? Just as he was doubtful as to what was going to happen, he saw the fellow walking straight toward the courtyard in front. Guild leader Lu, be careful. It'll be troublesome if you got trapped by the formation. Not expecting the other party to charge straight toward the formation without saying anything, Mo Tianxue was alarmed. This is a formation which could trap even the gold-tailed lion. What in the world is a Tongxian realm primary stage expert like you doing around it? You're courting death. Not expecting that arrogant fellow to rush forward, Grandmaster Lin Tao harumphed coldly. He was prepared to see this fellow step into the formation and embarrass himself, but contrary to his expectations, the other party stopped right before the formation, lifted his leg, and kicked forcefully. Wang! A sound similar to a buzz echoed. The interiors of the courtyard suddenly appeared clearly before everyone's eyes. All right, I've paused the formation. Zhang clapped his hands. Chapter 350, What illness is it? Silence loomed in the air for an instant. Mo Tianxue rubbed his eyes blankly, and he nearly fainted. The formation which had veiled everyone's eyes from the interiors of the courtyard had indeed disappeared. Pausing a grade 3 formation with a kick. Were they dreaming? Confinement formations were unique fields aligned with the geography of the location, such as the mountains, the rivers, or even the stars. All life forms that step into such an area would find themselves descending in confusion, losing the ability to discern direction. Without an extremely deep understanding of formations, it was impossible for one to find the core of a formation and stop it. Yet, this fellow, who obviously knew nothing about formations, simply walked up and, with just a single kick, paused a grade 3 formation. Could the situation get any more exaggerated than that? If this was just luck, then his luck was way too overpowered. Mou was taken aback as well. She had seen the innumerable means Zhang possessed, and she knew that he was mysterious and strong. However, she still couldn't help but keel over in fright upon seeing this sight. The reason why the Lin Clan dared to act so arrogantly in Tianwu Royal City, even when they were before the royal family, was mainly due to their ability to set up grade 3 formations. After all, even a Zhizuan realm primary stage expert would be unable to escape from a formation of this level, yet this fellow, who didn't even know what the Lin Clan was, with a single kick actually suppressed the formation easily. I know that you have a lot of astonishing means, but isn't this way too much? Could it be that on top of being a master teacher, apothecary, beast tamer, poison master, you're a formation master as well? Those are all occupations in the upper 9 paths. Everyone said that she was a genius for being able to grasp any occupation swiftly, but compared to this fellow, the heck, she seemed to be no different from an ignorant oaf. Just the thought of it sent her into a frenzy. Why you, the two was only shocked, but Grandmaster Lin Tao, who had ridiculed the other party just a moment ago, had his mouth so widely opened that his lower jaw was almost hitting the ground. The reason why he kept refusing wasn't out of fear that the gold-tailed lion would escape, or that it was impossible to cure it, but rather this grade 3 formation was set up personally by the guild leader. Being a mere 2-star Pinnacle formation master, he couldn't even find where the formation core and formation flags were placed at, needless to say, remove it. Since he couldn't even remove the formation, pausing it was completely out of question. Who could have thought that not only would this fellow be able to pause it, he would even be able to do it so easily? Pausing a formation would have required any other formation masters to study the area, calculate using their compass, flip through ancient records, conduct several experiments. It was a very laborious and lengthy job. Not to mention, if things go wrong, they might even end up being trapped by their own formation. Yet, this fellow actually kicked the formation without even studying it closely, as though he was just kicking down a mere wooden plank. If anyone else were to do so, they would definitely suffer a rebound from the formation and die on the spot. But not only was the other party fine, the formation even freaking paused. Isn't there something very wrong about this? let's go in. Just as he was silenced with shock, the young man in front beckoned to the group before walking into the courtyard. Following closely behind, Grandmaster Lin Tao examined the surroundings and confirmed that the formation truly wasn't active at the moment. It had truly paused under the other party's kick. It was just a moment ago that I thought that this fellow's reputation is over-exaggerated. After all, this cultivation is clear to see. As such, I didn't think that he would be of any threat at all. To think that he would actually be such an incredible figure. Most probably, only that master-teacher Zhang would be a match for him. With a quick examination, Grandmaster Lin Tao could tell that the formation was only paused, it wasn't damaged at all. Slowly, the disdain on his face turned into graveness. In truth, when he first heard that Lu Laoshi had solved the illnesses on the Wall of Dilemma and became the new guild leader, he didn't think highly about the other party. After all, regardless of which occupation one was in, one's cultivation was the most important factor. Everything else was secondary. Tongxian Realm primary stage was simply too unimpressive, so he disregarded the other party, but at this moment, the other party had actually stopped a grade 3 formation with a single kick. Even the guild leader wouldn't be capable of such a feat. It seemed like this Lu Laoshi wasn't as simple as he thought him out to be. I've to inform the clan head about this matter as soon as possible, he made a decision inwardly. Even Heaven's path was imperfect, so naturally, formations had its strengths and flaws, its life gate and death gate as well. Once one found this flaw, no matter how formidable a formation was, it could be manipulated or destroyed easily. To put it simply, this flaw referred to the point where the flow of energy of the formation field was centered. This flaw could be located in the direct center for some formations, and by the side for the others. Zhang was fortunate in the sense that it happened to be right in front of him, as stated in the Library of Heaven's Path. While it might have looked like a simple kick on the surface, in truth, Zhang was actually infusing Heaven's Path Shinqi into the formation. This interrupted the flow of energy in the formation, resulting in the deactivation of the formation. Heaven's Path Shinqi was the purest spiritual energy in the world, thus allowing it to easily destroy the internal structure of a formation. This was precisely the reason why that seemingly simple kick had such shocking effects. If it had been anyone else, even if they were to be aware of this flaw, it would take them a great deal of effort to exploit it. The group walked around a winding pebble path. The courtyard was tidy and clean, and after walking a short distance, a giant palace appeared before them. Soon, they heard a deafening snore which jolted the dirt on the floor into the air, leaving one slightly dizzy-headed. Great! The gold-tailed lion is sleeping. Mo Tianxue's eyes lit up. He was afraid that the gold-tailed lion would charge out the moment the formation was paused. They were truly lucky to have come while the latter was asleep. Following the source of the voice, they soon arrived at a giant hall. In it, they saw a gigantic savage beast lying on the floor with both of its eyes tightly shut. It heavily resembled a normal lion, but its physique was significantly larger. Its tail was colored in gold, but there was a slight trace of white at the very end of its tail. In comparison to the steel Fang howling firmament beast, a half-Shizuan realm savage beast as well, its muscles were loose and its hair was messy, thus giving it the appearance no different from that of an elderly. From its outer appearance, one could tell that it was in an age of decline. Guild leader Lu, this is our guardian beast, gold-tailed lion. Its illness seems to have grown even more severe. Looking at the sleeping gold-tailed lion, Mo Tianxue shook his head. Half-Shizuan realm savage beasts possessed strong wariness. The fact that it could remain asleep despite their arrival in its territory showed how serious its illness was. What conditions did it show before? Zhang asked. It used to be extremely quiet and calm, but around half a month ago, its eyes suddenly turned red and it went on a rampage, biting everyone it could see. In the course of its rampage, it injured 8 eunuchs and maids. Out of helplessness, I invited guild leader Lin here to help me trap it with a formation. Recalling the sight that day, Mo Tianxue couldn't help but shudder in fear. This was a half-Shizuan realm savage beast. If it were to really go into a frenzy, even if he would be unable to stop it. It was fortunate that the gold-tailed lion was still able to curb itself. Otherwise, half of the Shadow Squad would have probably died under its rampage. It suddenly went on a rampage. Zhang Xian turned to examine the gold-tailed lion. Even if it had aged and its physical functions were failing, it was very unlikely for such a powerful savage beast to suddenly fall ill and lose its rationality. That's right. Even though the gold-tailed lion has a ferocious appearance, it is actually a rather gentle savage beast. Tamed by my ancestor, it has guarded the royal palace for more than 200 years now. In this period of time, it has always been in a stable condition and it has never hurt anyone before. Thus, we are at a loss as to what kind of illness it is suffering from. Mo Tianxue continued, back then, I invited guild leader Mu Hong to take a look at it, and he said that it was getting anxious because it's reaching the end of its lifespan, and we had to find a way to placate it. After which, I found a few other physicians to diagnose the gold-tailed lion as well, but their diagnoses were around the same as guild leader Mu Hong's. They said that it is impossible to treat this kind of illness, and the gold-tailed lion can only slowly recover through its own means. If it can survive through this ordeal, it might still be able to live for a longer period of time. If not, it would mean that it has come to the end of its time. Furthermore, regardless of whether it is able to tide through this ordeal, 3 months is the limit on its lifespan. In other words, regardless of whether we were able to successfully treat its illness or not, it will die within 3 months. There's no hope for it to achieve a complete recovery, a limit of 3 months on its lifespan? Hearing those words, Zhang Xian immediately immersed himself into the library of Heaven's Path and swiftly searched through the physician books for similar illnesses. And just like what he expected, he wasn't able to find a single useful thing on the matter. Even though there were many different bizarre and rare illnesses recorded in those books, none of them seemed to fit the gold-tailed lion's symptoms. But Zhang Xian had expected this as well. If it could be found in the books, physician Mu Hong and the others would have already treated him long ago. Seems like I have to find some ways to collect more books. Zhang Xian shook his head. If he had collected sufficient books, he would surely have been able to find a corresponding illness record to the gold-tailed lion's condition. But since he failed to do so, this could only mean that the knowledge he had accumulated was still insufficient. Looks like I should find some time to collect the books of the Physician Guild. Even though Zhang Xian had passed the physician examination and even became the guild leader, he hadn't been to its library yet. Most of the books he had in the Library of Heaven's Path came from the library in the Master Teacher Pavilion. Even though the Master Teacher Pavilion's library had books on most occupations, its collection in each specific fields was still unable to compare up to that in the corresponding guild. Guild leader Lu, do you need me to bring you physician Mu Hong and the other physicians' diagnoses so that you can study them? Seeing Zhang Xian lowering his head in contemplation, Mo Tianxue asked. There's no need. Zhang Xian shook his hands. Since they were unable to find the cause of the gold-tailed lion's illness as well, their evaluation was no use to him. Then since the gold-tailed lion is sleeping, so you need me to wake it up so that you can better examine it? Usually, when a physician diagnosed a patient, the patient had to be conscious so that the physician could examine the latter's movements and pose questions to better understand his condition. Given that the guardian beast was asleep, it was unlikely that Zhang Xian would be able to discern anything of use to treat it. Zhang Xian quickly shook his head. If the gold-tailed lion were to awake, he would need it to launch an attack before a book could be compiled on it. If it chose not to attack or attacked too quickly, the situation could prove to be very troublesome for him. I'll go over there to take a better look. Saying so, he started walking over to the massive savage beast. His cultivation might be lacking, but it is a fact that he solved all of the questions on the wall of dilemma. There should be no doubt regarding his medical skill. I should take a good look to see how he'll cure the guardian beast. By the side, Grandmaster Lin Tao hurriedly turned his gaze to guild leader Lu upon seeing him walk forward. As the vice-guild leader of the Formation Master Guild, he was acquainted with quite a few physicians, so he was aware of the fundamentals in diagnosing a patient. Asking questions, examining the skin tone, checking the breathing, listening to the heartbeat. There were even some who checked their patients' feces to determine the root of their illness. Grandmaster Lin Tao was curious to see what method the person who broke the records of the Physician Guild would use. Thus, he stared at guild leader Lu intently, not daring to blink at all for fear of missing out a single detail. However, all he saw was that the young man walking up to the savage beast, touching it, and then returning with a bizarre expression. This just like that? Grandmaster Lin Tao was baffled. Chapter 351, Chrysanthemum. The process of diagnosing wasn't a child's play, one mustn't be negligent in it. All the other party did was to walk over and touch the savage beast. Without even examining the savage beast's fur, physical condition, heartbeat, or breathing rate, he came back. What was this? Don't tell me that you are already done examining the other party's condition, and you already have a solution for the matter. Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu were perplexed. They couldn't tell what guild leader Lu was up to. After he returned to their side, they thought that he would say something, but to their frustration, he simply stood on the spot and fell into a daze. Without examining anything, he touched the other party and fell into a daze. Even Grandmaster Lin Tao, who had seen innumerable diagnoses from different top-notch physicians before, was perplexed. Cough cough, guild leader Lu, can the gold-tailed lion be saved? They waited for a very long time, but the other party's face only brightened and darkened periodically. Unable to stand the anxiety any longer, Mo Tianxue asked. You should at least tell me whether there is hope or not. Are you trying to kill us with anxiety by standing there? Oh. I've a few items that I need, so I'll have to trouble you to prepare them as soon as possible. Recovering from his daze, Zhang instructed with a grim expression. Yes. Mo Tianxue nodded. Boneless flour, gold blood venom, 3,000 worm blood. Zhang casually listed a few medicinal substance. These are all poison. Mo Tianxue thought that the other party would list out nourishing medicinal substances, but contrary to his expectations, all of the items the other party listed possessed lethal poison. Just hearing those names sent shivers down Mo Tianxue's spine. I need them. Zhang replied. Can these poisonous substances really treat the gold-tailed lion's illness? Mo Tianxue was perplexed. The gold-tailed lion was reaching the end of its life, and it even went on a rampage several times to express its frustration. Logically speaking, they should be feeding it nourishing medicinal herbs so that it could regain its spirit and recover. Why would you look for these poisonous substances instead? Father, let's just listen to guild leader Lu's words. Since he asked you to obtain these material, he must have a use for them. Sensing her father's hesitation, Mo Yu immediately urged him telepathically. Having witnessed Zhang Xian's treatment of the great herb king, she knew that the latter possessed astonishing means. Since he asked for her father to prepare these poisonous substances, he must have a plan in mind. All right. Agreeing to the matter, Mo Tianxue waved his hand. A split moment later, a grey-robed man appeared, and Mo Tianxue issued several instructions to him. The Tianwu royal family possessed exceptional efficiency in getting things done. It didn't take them long to gather all of the required medicinal substances. Guild leader Lu, what should we do now? Seeing the bunch of poisonous substances placed on top of a huge table, the corners of Mo Tianxue's lip twitched and he hurriedly averted his gaze. Just any single one of these medicinal substances was sufficient to poison a Zongshi realm expert to death. But at this moment, dozens of them were piled up together. Mo Tianxue truly couldn't imagine a use for these items. Do you have any pikes? Prepare 36 of them for me. Instead of answering, Zhang listed another request. Pikes were a common weapon used by the guards in the royal palace, so it wasn't too difficult to gather them. A few minutes later, a pile of pikes were stacked up in the courtyard. Prepare another 40 cows and lambs. Slaughter them and fill their blood in buckets. Zhang Xian continued instructing. Even though Mo Tianxue had no idea what was going on, he didn't think that guild leader Lu would do pointless things. Thus, he had his men prepare those as well. Soon, when everything was in place, Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Walking over to the table of medicinal substances that the other party had collected, he smacked on the table. Who? A dozen of medicinal substances immediately flew into the air. Zhang Xian closed his palms together, and with a burst of jinqi, he crushed them all into medicinal powder and mixed them together one by one. The final product was a green powder which sent one's goosebumps rising. Without a doubt, this powder, which comprised more than a dozen of lethal poisons, was incredibly potent. If a half-Shizuan were to get a whiff of it, he would at least pass out for half a day. This is the concoction method of a poison master. Could it be that guild leader Lu is a poison master? As the poison powder flew around the place, they reacted with one another, causing the substance to change colors continuously. Mo Tianxue and Grandmaster Lin Tao stared at the sight warily. Poison masters possessed the might to kill those who possessed a cultivation realm beyond them. Lu Cheng's cultivation could be considered as negligible in comparison to theirs, but the notoriety of poison masters was simply too deeply ingrained in their minds. No one knew what kind of poison he was concocting, and there was a chance that they might end up dead if they were to be negligent at this point. There were many such precedents, and this was also the reason why this occupation was extremely feared by many. The fact that guild leader Lu was able to fuse so many lethal medicinal substances together so casually showed that he had a comprehensive knowledge over the properties of these medicinal substances, and he had an extremely high control over his concoction skills. Could he really be a poison master? Formidable physicians dabble in poison for their treatment as well. It isn't surprising for him to know a thing or two about the properties of poisonous medicinal substances. Sensing the doubt of the duo, Mou sent a telepathic message to them. Physicians and poison masters were actually two sides of the same coin. Both of them utilized medicinal herbs, but one used it to save lives while the other one used it to claim lives. It was said that the very first poison master was initially an extremely proficient physician. After his wife was killed by his enemies, his personality became warped and he started to research lethal poison to exact vengeance. Eventually, he wiped out the entire clan of his enemies, and before his death, he left behind a book, The Art of Poison. Of course, as it was too long in the past, no one could verify the authenticity of this legend. Even so, this legend clearly indicated that there were many points of overlap between physicians and poison masters. As such, it wasn't too surprising for formidable physicians to be capable of concocting poison either. I'm done. Just as the trio was discussing, the young man finally came to a stop. He was done concocting the poison powder, and he casually threw it into the pail by the side. The clear water within the pail immediately turned dark gray. After doing all of these, Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He circled around the gold-tailed lion before stopping finally before Grandmaster Lin Tao. Is there a way to activate the confinement formation quickly? Activate the confinement formation quickly. Lin Tao was stunned. Zhang Xian nodded. Back then, when he was at the Beast Hall, he had the opportunity to see a formation being activated, and it seemed to be a troublesome process requiring much preparatory work. It'll be best if you can do so within half a breath. After contemplating for a moment, Zhang Xian added. Half a breath? Lin Tao nearly choked on his own saliva. How is that possible? Given the size of this grade 3 formation, it would require a minimum 8 Zongshi realm Pinnacle experts infusing jinqi into the formation simultaneously at 8 different locations to activate. Only when their jinqi has completely fused with the formation will the formation be triggered. Even with the fastest method, it'll at least take 10 minutes. 10 minutes? If one possesses the strength of a Zhizuan realm cultivator, one would be able to activate it alone, and the time taken will be significantly reduced as well. Even so, it'll still be impossible to activate it without 2 to 3 minutes. Lin Tao was completely speechless. Do you really know formations? The triggering of a formation may sound simple, but it requires one to infuse Zhangshi to drive and stimulate the formation. This process is extremely complex and troublesome to carry out. Anyone who had the slightest understanding of formation would understand this. As a person capable of pausing a grade 3 formations with a single kick, how could you not know this? That is too long, Zhang Xian frowned. Do you have any better ideas? I do, just that I can't do it alone. Lin Tao said hesitantly. Oh. Tell me about it. Zhang Xian hurriedly turned to look at him. Every single formation has a core, and that is where the entire formation is centered around. If one infuses Zhangshi directly into that spot, the formation can be activated swiftly. This is also the fundamental principle behind how formation plates works. At this point, Lin Tao suddenly looked slightly awkward. However, you should know that only 3-star formation masters are capable of inscribing on a formation plates. I'm only a 2-star Pinnacle formation master, so I'm still a little lacking in that aspect. In truth, formation plates were created through using a special method to compress massive formations into a small personal object that one could bring around conveniently. When the need comes, one just has to infuse Zhangshi into it. This fellow already had been in an unstable condition recently, going around eating others. If it were to fly into a temper at this moment, wouldn't it slaughter everyone? Roar! As expected, before they could recover from their shock, a furious roar reverberated in the air. The sleeping gold-tailed lion abruptly opened its eyes, and its large eyes instantaneously turned scarlet. We're done for. Upon seeing this sight, their hearts turned cold. Voila! Lowering his head, the gold-tailed lion saw the pike stabbed into its body. In an instant, its fury surged and it bellowed deafeningly, tremoring the heavens. Standing up, its massive figure, reminiscent of a small hill, became even more pronounced. Even without making a move, the immense pressure that it exerted had already made their legs go weak. Guild leader Lu, danger! Mou shouted anxiously. Even a Zongshi realm pinnacle expert like her father couldn't withstand the wrath of the gold-tailed lion. The other party was only at Zongshi realm primary stage, so how could he possibly survive an attack from it? She thought that the young man would retreat immediately after hearing her voice, but contrary to her expectations, the other party simply picked up another pike, soaked it in venom, and tossed it once more. On top of that, the area which he was aiming for was the orifice at the end of the gold-tailed lion's alimentary canal. Puha! The pike accurately stabbed straight into the opening, and fresh blood immediately gushed frenziedly along the body of the pike. Roar! This time, it wasn't just the gold-tailed lion who went into a frenzy. Mo Tianxue, Lin Tao, Mou found the boundaries of their sanity being forcefully pushed on. It had just barely opened its eyes to identify the arrogant aggressor who dared to attack it when this fellow grabbed a pike and tossed it into the end of its alimentary canal. Rage immediately clouded its mind. Voila! It immediately swept its massive tail straight toward Zhang Xian. Due to its astounding speed, a sonic boom burst the air. Seemingly aware that it would react in this manner, Zhang Xian didn't panic. Instead, with a swift leap, he dashed to the spot around a dozen meters away where he glanced momentarily at just a moment ago and forcefully kicked at it. Voila! Along with the sound, the vision before Mo Tianxue, Mou, and the others blurred. The formation had activated once more, concealing the interiors of the courtyard. The formation has been activated? Grandmaster Lin Tao widened his eyes. Chapter 352, Cured. To be able to activate the formation instantly, this could only mean one thing: that fellow had found the core of the formation. During that conversation, Grandmaster Lin Tao could tell that the other party didn't even know what a formation core was. Yet, Right after that, the other party immediately found the formation core and even made use of it. Is this for real? Grandmaster Lin Tao's body shuddered, and he felt as though he was about to faint. The location of the formation core would change along with a change in one's surroundings. Even for a 3-star primary stage formation master like the clan head, without a compass and careful observation, it was impossible to find it. Yet, without using any tools at all, this fellow simply pranced about, and with a single kick, the formation immediately activated. Even though he was seeing it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but doubt if he was dreaming. He thought that he had a huge leverage as a formation grandmaster against the Tongxian realm lad, but after seeing this sight, tears threatened to flow down from his eyes. Guildmaster Lu, are you the formation grandmaster, or am I the formation grandmaster? Why do I feel like nothing but a fool before you? Roar! 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 With the activation of the formation, Mo Tianxue and the others couldn't see the situation inside anymore. However, they could hear the infuriated roaring of the gold-tailed lion, as though there was something happening within which sent it into a frenzy. Dozens of breaths later, all sound from within disappeared. Let's go over and take a look. Anxious, Mo Tianxue and the others hurried forward. They weren't too far away from Guild Master Lu and the gold-tailed lion, and with Lin Tao leading the way, they were able to walk past the mist without triggering the formation on them. Soon, when they reached their destination, the sight before them left their eyebrows twitching furiously, and for a moment, they thought that they would go insane. The gold-tailed lion, whom the young man was supposed to save, had pierced pikes all over its body, be it its nose, ears, end of the alimentary canal. Fresh blood flowed furiously down each of the 36 pikes, dyeing the entire ground crimson. The imposing gold-tailed lion, which was roaring non-stop a moment ago, was so drained at this moment that it couldn't even open its eyes, and its breathing was nearly imperceptible. Guild leader Lu, Mo Tianxue, felt his veins popping out, and he nearly vomited a mouthful of blood. The reason why I invited you over is to treat the guardian beast, not to kill it. Isn't it just your first meeting with it? Yet, you threw so many pikes toward it that it looked no different from a feather duster at this point. More importantly, every single one of these pikes was laced with lethal poison. You must be truly adamant to kill it. What grudge do you have with it for you to kill it so mercilessly? Rage bubbled in Mo Tianxue's chest, and he clenched his fist tightly in anger. If he didn't give his all to hold himself back, he would have surely rushed forward to crush that fellow with his fist. Even though the guardian beast didn't have long to live and it had hurt some people when it went on a rampage previously, it had protected Tianwu Kingdom from harm for past several centuries. Mo Tianxue carried deep respect for it. Treating the guardian beast like that was as good as an insult to him. With a steeled face, he looked at the young man. The other party's face was slightly pale, and he seemed to be slightly sapped of energy. Upon seeing the trio, the young man heaved a sigh of relief. He weakly sat onto the floor and said, "Its illness is extremely hard to treat, but fortunately, I managed to accomplish what that was asked of me." Accomplish what that was asked of you? Seeing the other party's confident smile, Mo Tianxue was taken aback. Shaking his head, he said, "I'm here, how can it possibly die so easily?" Saying so, he walked toward the gold-tailed lion and kicked it. "Stop feigning death. Hurry up and get up, roar." Being kicked on its face, the seemingly dead gold-tailed lion seemed to be shocked into action. With a furious roar, its golden fur trembled. So. All of the pikes stabbed into its body flew out, dropping onto the ground. "Drink these pails of blood," Zhang casually pointed. He had asked for Mo Tianxue to prepare the fresh blood of cows and goats beforehand, and they were stored in the wooden pails placed not too far away. The gold-tailed lion hurried forward and gulped them down. Soon, after consuming the blood in those pails, the gold-tailed lion seemed to have recovered considerably. Compared to its withered look from before, it looked extremely spirited at the moment. Seeing this sight, Mo Tianxue and the others felt as though they were dreaming. For a moment, they were completely dumbfounded. Despite having 36 pikes laced with lethal poison impaling it, not only did the gold-tailed lion manage to survive, it was even revitalized. What in the world was going on? Furthermore, didn't its breathing clearly stop just now? Why did it suddenly come to life after a kick? This guild leader Lu had dashed a total of 3 kicks. The first one, he stopped the formation. The second one, he activated the formation. And the third one, the gold-tailed lion came to life. It felt as though every single one of his kicks possessed mystical powers, astonishing everyone with its fearsome might every single time. Guild leader Lu, seeing that the vitality of the gold-tailed lion had recovered significantly, Mo Tianxue couldn't help but utter with a doubtful tone. Are you curious about what is going on? Zhang Xian chuckled. Actually, the gold-tailed lion wasn't afflicted with any illness, it was poisoned. Poisoned? Mo Tianxue was taken aback while Grandmaster Lin Tao's face distorted in terror. Someone actually dared to poison the guardian beast of Tianwu Kingdom? Who is it? And how did the person do it? Under normal circumstances, the tail of the gold-tailed lion should be golden. However, there are slight traces of white at the tip previously. This shows that it isn't just an ordinary illness. Zhang Xian explained. Hearing these words, Mo Tianxue and the others suddenly recalled seeing traces of white at the end of the gold-tailed lion's tiger. You said that it went on a rampage, but if it truly went on a rampage, how could it possibly stop right after eating a few eunuchs and maids? This contradicts the very idea of a rampage. Clearly, it still possesses rationality. Zhang Xian continued, given these 2 factors, I deduced that it must have fallen prey to some lethal poison, and in an attempt to cope with it, it forced the poison to the tip of its tail, thus inducing the traces of white. The crowd was taken aback. That's right. If it had truly gone on a complete rampage, it would surely attack everyone it saw. It was illogical for it to stop at just a few insignificant eunuchs and maids. Could it be that these maids and eunuchs were the ones who poisoned it? That's why it killed them out of anger. A thought suddenly appeared in Mou's mind. Given the guardian beast's half-Shizuan realm cultivation, there was no one in Tianwu Kingdom who could force poison on it. The only viable method was to spike its food. And the most plausible culprits for it were the eunuchs and maids who served it. That's right. Zhang Xian nodded. Without any contractee, it is unable to express its thoughts. As such, it killed these eunuchs and maids to exact vengeance, as well as to tell you that these people are suspicious. Yet you thought that it had gone insane and even used a formation to confine it. Mo Tianxue's face flushed. When the guardian beast ate those eunuchs and maids, he was horrified, thinking that the latter had gone insane. It happened that guild leader Lin was beside him then, so he immediately requested for the latter to set up a formation to confine it without giving it much thought. He didn't expect that the other party was actually trying to express such intent. Even though the poison it was afflicted with was potent, it is still a powerful half-Shizuan realm savage beast possessing centuries of lifespan. This was what that allowed it to hold on all this while. However, just like what physician Mu Hong and the others had said, it wouldn't survive past 3 months at this rate. It wouldn't be difficult to treat this poison in its earlier stages, but in the gold-tailed lion's case, the poison had already permeated through the meridians across its entire body, making treatment difficult. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to counteract the poison with another poison. That's why I got you to prepare all of those poisonous substances and used a pike to insert the venom into the locations where the poison was gathered. It is fortunate that I managed to accomplish what you asked of me and saved it. Zhang Xian smiled. After placing his hand on the other party's body, he immediately found out what poison the gold-tailed lion was suffering from. He had seen this poison in the books of the poison hall before, and he knew that to treat it, he would have to counteract its poison with another one. Knowing all of these, the rest was simple. He just had to neutralize the poison spread across the other party's body by inserting venom of his own. But of course, if it was anyone else, such a feat would have been impossible. The poison had already spread across its entire body, accumulating in many different meridians. It would be impossible to even identify the locations where the poison had settled down in, thus making it even more impossible to solve the problem. After all, if the venom were to be injected into the wrong locations, not only would it fail to neutralize the poison in the gold-tailed lion's body, it would even poison it to death. However, possessing the Library of Heaven's Path, Zhang could clearly see all 36 of the locations where the poison was accumulated. All he had to do was to aim the pike accurately at the right location. As for the cow and goat blood, it was for the gold-tailed lion to regain its vitality after suffering such a massive loss of blood. After hearing the explanation, Mo Tianxue and the others widened their eyes in shock. At this moment, they felt nothing but admiration for the young man before them. It was no wonder why he could solve all of the problems on the Wall of Dilemma and become the new guild leader of the Physician Guild. His medical skill was simply too formidable. It was hard to believe that anyone could possess such capability even though they were seeing one right before them. Even though I have neutralized the lethal poison it is suffering from, it is true that its lifespan is reaching its end. While it is still fine for the time being, it won't live beyond a year, unless, Zhang hesitated for a moment before saying, it achieves a breakthrough into Zhizuan realm. Achieves a breakthrough in Zhizuan realm? Mo Tianxue's breathing suddenly hastened. Does guild leader Lu have a solution to that? Chapter 353, Zongshi Realm Pinnacle. Zhizuan Realm stands at the very pinnacle of a fighter. At this level, a cultivator's physical body, Zhongshi, and spirit will reach the limits of a mortal. However, it is extremely difficult to break through the barrier to reach this level. This is especially true for savage beasts, whose bloodline limits their progress. Without bloodline evolution, it is impossible for them to reach Zhizuan realm. This was also the reason why the gold-tailed lion had been unable to achieve a breakthrough despite having guarded Tianwu Kingdom for 200 years. Otherwise, given the royal family's wealth and connections, it would have taken the final step long ago. It wouldn't have been stuck at half Zhizuan all this while, unable to advance a single step forward. An idea. I do have one, but it will be expensive. Zhang tilted his face upwards as the vicissitudes of life reflected in his eyes. As long as the gold-tailed lion is able to reach Zhizuan realm, I am willing to pay any price, Mo Tianxue hurriedly replied. Once the guardian beast dies, Tianwu Kingdom would be at risk. On the other hand, if the guardian beast could reach Zhizuan realm, not only would a crisis be averted, but the nation's strength would also be boosted as well. The clans who had been harboring great ambitions toward Tianwu Kingdom would have to rein themselves in. Thus, Mo Tianxue was willing to pay any price for the gold-tailed lion's breakthrough. Seeing the other party's attitude, Zhang nodded in satisfaction. Turning to look at the others with the look of an expert unsullied by the material world, he continued, it isn't exactly difficult, but it won't be easy either. I'll need spirit stones, and the more there are, the higher its chances of achieving a breakthrough. Also, I will require Zhizuan realm cultivation technique manuals. There's no need for quality, I only require quantity. Similarly, the more there are, the better it is. Naturally, these two objects weren't for the gold-tailed lion's breakthrough, but rather, preparation for the advancement of his own cultivation. He had already repaid the other party's favor by treating the gold-tailed lion's poison. It would be considered as another service if he were to help it to achieve a breakthrough, and naturally, he would have to collect a separate fee for it. However, his demand for spirit stones and secret manuals wasn't entirely for his own private reasons either. While the Heaven's Path Zhongshi possessed the ability to cleanse a savage beast's bloodline, Zhang cultivation mustn't be too far from the other parties. Zhang was capable of inducing a breakthrough in a Zongshi realm pinnacle savage beast to half Zhizuan, but without reaching Zongshi realm pinnacle, it would be hard for him to raise the cultivation of the gold-tailed lion to Zhizuan realm. If not for this limitation, Zhang would be able to raise a savage beast's bloodline ceaselessly. He could have just raised the cultivation of the Howling Firmament Beast continuously until it reached Jizuan Realm Pinnacle, and by then, no one would dare to cross his path even at a conferred kingdom. He wouldn't have to go through so much trouble here. In a sense, while the purpose of the Spirit Stones and Jizuan Realm cultivation technique manuals was to raise his strength, it was also for the gold-tailed lion's breakthrough. Thus, Zhang wasn't deceiving the other party. Spirit Stones the royal family does have some, but there's only 5 of them. Upon hearing what Zhang required, even though Mo Tianxue was perplexed, he still answered honestly. As for Jizuan Realm cultivation technique manuals, we don't have a single one of them. Only 5 Spirit Stones. And not even a single Jizuan Realm cultivation technique manual. Yes, only conferred kingdoms have the right to trade Spirit Stones. The few Spirit Stones that our Tianwu Kingdom possesses were obtained by paying a heavy price, and throughout the years, we have been using them to reward meritorious subjects and to befriend talents, so we are running low on supply. As for Jizuan Realm cultivation techniques, due to the restrictions on Tier 1 kingdoms and the lack of resources, it is impossible for one to reach this cultivation realm. Thus these cultivation technique manuals are useless to us, and possessing them may even bring a calamity upon us, Mo Tianxue said awkwardly. Spirit Stones are too valuable, they are limited in supply even in conferred kingdoms, needless to say, a Tier 1 kingdom like Tianwu Kingdom. In truth, it was already a sizable fortune to possess 5 of them in their treasury. As for Jizuan Realm cultivation technique manuals, there wasn't a single Jizuan Realm cultivator in Tianwu Kingdom, so where could they find a cultivation technique of this level? Besides, if a Jizuan Realm expert were to appear in Tianwu Kingdom, it would definitely alarm the conferred kingdoms and potentially bring calamity upon them. 5 So be it then. Pass them to me. I will think of a way to help it achieve a breakthrough. Even though Zhang thought that it was a pity that he could only obtain 5 Spirit Stones, he still nodded in agreement. Even though his demand for spiritual energy would increase as his cultivation increased, based on his calculations, since 1 Spirit Stone was sufficient for him to reach Zongshi Realm Intermediate Stage, 6 should be sufficient for him to reach Zongshi Realm Pinnacle. I'll be depending on Guild Leader Lu then. Upon hearing that 5 Spirit Stones were sufficient, Mo Tianxue heaved a sigh of relief. With a flick of his wrist, a long jade box appeared in his hand, and he passed it to the other party. Zhang opened the box and saw 5 Spirit Stones placed side by side. The spiritual energy in the air suddenly surged due to the presence of the 5 Spirit Stones, stimulating his pores. An indescribable sense of comfort wrapped around his body. Casually keeping the box in his storage ring, Zhang nodded in satisfaction. Guild Leader Lu, do you need anything else? What about pills? Mo Tianxue asked. Blood evolution is an incredibly complicated process. Even the more formidable beast tamers of the Beast Hall are unable to induce it in their tamed beasts. He couldn't imagine how the other party could help the gold-tailed lion smash through the final barrier blocking its way to Jizuan Realm with just Spirit Stones. I don't need those. Instead, I need a secret chamber to make some preparations. Don't let anyone interrupt me. Zhang waved his hands casually. Yes. Mo Tianxue replied. Since the gold-tailed lion was already treated of its afflictions, the courtyard was now safe from danger. Thus, Mo Tianxue looked for a quiet room around the area and brought Zhang over before departing with Mou and the others. After stepping out of the courtyard, Grandmaster Lin Tao immediately bided the others farewell and left in a hurry. Watching the other party disappear into the distance, Mo Tianxue's eyes abruptly narrowed. Father, Mou turned to look at Mo Tianxue doubtfully. Seems like we have to be careful of the Lin Clan. Mo Tianxue shook his head. Lin Clan? Mou was perplexed. Wasn't their relationship with the Lin Clan amiable? Why would her father suddenly say such words? I suspect that the gold-tailed lion's poisoning is the Lin Clan's doing. Mo Tianxue harumphed. As an emperor, he couldn't possibly be a useless wastrel. As soon as Zhang Xian confirmed his diagnosis, he already had his own guesses. However, Mou still found the matter hard to believe. The gold-tailed lion is the kingdom's guardian beast. If it were to die, who do you think would benefit the most? Mo Tianxue turned to look at Mou. The royal family has a history tracing back more than 1,000 years, and its roots run deep. Even without the gold-tailed lion, we are able to destroy normal clans and powers easily, so its death won't affect our influence too much. Only the Lin Clan is beyond our control. Without the gold-tailed lion keeping them in check, they might really. Analyzing the matter, Mou's expression slowly turned grim. The Lin Clan's clan head was a half-Zhizuan realm expert. On top of that, they possessed numerous powerful formations, as well as the backing of Xianyuan conferred kingdom. If they were to lay their eyes on the throne, they had a good chance at realizing their ambitions. Furthermore, ordinary clans don't have the connections to obtain poison that is effective on a half-Zhizuan savage beast. Besides, there truly aren't that many powers capable of planting spies in the royal palace and feeding the guardian beast poison beneath the emperor's eyes. When the gold-tailed lion flew into a frenzy, Lin Ruotian happened to be in the royal palace, discussing certain matters with me. After the incident, I thought that it was a little too much of a coincidence. From the looks of it now, he had probably planned for it from the very start. As long as they trapped the gold-tailed lion in the formation and no physician was able to diagnose its condition, it would have been just a matter of time before it dies from the poison. Mo Tianxue clenched his fists. Initially, he didn't think much of the matter. However, upon learning that the guardian beast had been poisoned, he realized that all of the evidence pointed toward the Lin Clan. But even if we know that it was him, what can we do? Lin Ruotian's daughter is the princess consort of Xianyuan Kingdom. Mou shook her head. Even though there was a great possibility that the poisoning was orchestrated by the Lin Clan, they couldn't do anything to the other party. Putting aside the fact that Lin Ruotian possessed the strength of a half-Zhizuan expert, just her daughter's relationship with Xianyuan Kingdom made it impossible for any country to dare to touch him. Indeed, I can only hope that guild leader Lu is able to help the gold-tailed lion achieve a breakthrough. Once it reaches Zhizuan realm, they will have to think twice before doing anything. Mo Tianxue said. Even though the Master-Teacher Pavilion doesn't interfere in the politics of a country, if one party operates immorally and brings great suffering to the people, it would definitely make a move. The Master-Teacher Pavilion's goal is to guide all men so that each and every one of them can become an expert. It is willing to overlook small fights, but if someone oversteps its moral boundary, regardless of who he is, it will destroy him. It is precisely out of fear of the Master-Teacher Pavilion that no one dares to dream of annexing all kingdoms and uniting the world. But of course, another reason was that some countries, such as Tianxian Kingdom, were simply too remote. What makes things worse was that it was too poor. Even if one were to annex it, one would still have to devote resources to developing it. No one was foolish enough to waste their efforts on such a pointless endeavor. Once the gold-tailed lion reaches Zhizuan realm, the Lin Clan would be forced to rein themselves in. I believe that guild leader Lu will succeed. Mou said. She could still clearly remember the sight of Zhang Shi's beast pummeling taming method inducing a breakthrough in the Viridescent eagle. Perhaps this seemingly omnipotent young man could create another miracle and tide Tianwu Kingdom through this crisis. Let's hope so. Mo Tianxue nodded. However, he suddenly recalled something and looked at Mou doubtfully. Xiao Yu, I thought that you didn't get along well with Lu Laoshi. Why does your Viridescent eagle seem to be intimate with him? Also, you seem to know a lot about him as well. Chapter 354, Come, beat me up. Kacha kacha. With a swift jerk, a sonic boom sounded. Taking a few steps forward, Zhang Xian appeared before the strength-measuring rock pillar prepared for the guardian beast to test its strength, and threw a punch on it. Wang! Light shimmered on its surface. Several digits slowly floated into appearance 5,000. In Zongshi realm, one's strength had already exceeded 1,000 ding. Under normal circumstances, a Zongshi realm primary stage cultivator would possess a strength of 1,000 ding, an intermediate stage cultivator would possess a strength of 2,000 ding, an advanced stage cultivator would possess a strength of 3,000 ding, and a pinnacle cultivator would possess a strength of 4,000 ding. When Zhang Xian was at half Zongshi, his strength was already at 1,500 ding. Upon reaching Zongshi realm pinnacle, his strength surged tremendously, reaching the level of 5,000 ding. With such strength, he could already compete with an average half-Zhizuan expert. However, it's a pity that I don't have enough spirit stones. Otherwise, my strength wouldn't possibly amount to just 5,000. While Zhang Xian was excited by his newfound strength, he was also slightly disappointed by the results. The 6 spirit stones that he had obtained from Mo Tianxue and Prince Fei Xian had all been reduced to dust. Just like what he had thought, the further one advanced in one's cultivation, the greater the number of spirit stones required to achieve a breakthrough. In the past, a single spirit stone was more than enough for him to advance from Zongshi realm primary stage to intermediate stage, but now, even 6 of them was barely sufficient for him to reach Zongshi realm pinnacle. Judging from his current rate of consumption, Zhang Xian would require a minimum of 10 to several dozen of spirit stones to reach Zhizuan realm. Seems like I have to find a way to earn more spirit stones. Zhang Xian rubbed his glabella. While the Heaven's Path divine art allowed him to cultivate swiftly, its demand for spiritual energy was also frightening. The purer a cultivator's Zhongshi was, the greater the amount of spiritual energy required for a breakthrough. If he needed several dozen spirit stones to advance to Zhizuan realm, wouldn't he require at least several hundred of them to reach Zhizuan realm pinnacle? Even a tier 1 kingdom like Tianwu kingdom had only a handful of it. Where in the world was Zhang Xian supposed to find so many spirit stones? To think that he naively thought the several dozen million of gold coins he had in his storage ring would make him a wealthy person. From the looks of it, he was still a poor bloke. Money and everything else was just fleeting material possessions. Spirit stones were the way to go. To think that a day has already passed. Looking out of the window, Zhang Xian realized that it was already the afternoon of the second day, and he couldn't help but be speechless. Curing the poison on the gold-tailed lion had expended a significant amount of his Zhongshi and strength. Just the recovery his energy and conditioning his physical body had already taken a significant period of time. Including the time he had taken for his breakthrough, unknowingly, a day had already passed. I should start by helping the gold-tailed lion achieve a breakthrough. Stretching his back lazily, Zhang Xian ate the food that Mo Tianxue had someone sent over before walking out of the chamber. Upon reaching Zongshi realm pinnacle, Zhang Xian's Heaven's Path Zhongshi had become denser and purer, and he was now more than capable of inducing a bloodline evolution in that massive fellow. Guild leader Lu. Upon walking out of the room, he saw Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu standing a short distance away. To think that they would be waiting for him outside. Whether the gold-tailed lion was able to achieve a breakthrough or not was intricately linked to the stability of Tianwu Kingdom. If that was the case, why had he never heard of such a method? Your cultivation realm is only at Tongxian realm primary stage, and so, for the sake of your safety while you execute the beast pummeling taming method, we have no choice but to seal its movements. Mou answered him seriously. Zhang Xian had a strange expression on his face. Back then, when he induced a breakthrough in the Viridescent eagle, he had used the beast pummeling taming method. As such, she thought that he was going to use the same method this time around as well. Given that he was disguised as guild leader Lu, who possessed a strength of Tongxian realm primary stage, he shouldn't be a match for the gold-tailed lion if it were to retaliate. That was why Mou proposed to have the guardian beast bound. Cough cough. The other party had truly given him the fright of his life. To think that she was referring to this even though it looked unseemly, this was definitely a good idea. It could conceal his identity, as well as the ability of the Heaven's Path Zhongshi in cleansing the bloodline of savage beasts. Not bad, I'll begin now then. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Zhang Xian walked over to the bound gold-tailed lion. Mo Tianxue hurriedly focused his attention on Zhang Xian, curious to see what the other party would do. His daughter had expressed her confidence in the other party's means, but until now, he was still unable to comprehend what the beast pummeling taming method was. The gold-tailed lion who laid on the floor with a resentful look seemed even more oblivious as to what that was about to happen. However, when it saw Zhang Xian walk over, gratitude brimmed in its eyes. If not for this physician, it would probably have died with deep regrets. Even though the opening of its alimentary canal still hurt at the moment, its body still felt a lot more relaxed now that the poison had been removed. With the strong regeneration capability savage beasts were blessed with, it should only take a couple more days before it made a full recovery. Just as it was about to cuddle up to its benefactor in gratitude, the man in question suddenly sent a kick in its direction without any warning whatsoever. Roar! The gold-tailed lion was stunned. Aren't you going to help me raise my cultivation? Why are you kicking me instead? Peng peng peng. Before it could react, the young man before it sent a few more powerful kicks toward it. Every single kick landed accurately on its wounds from yesterday, causing it to hiss through its gritted teeth in pain. This is the beast pummeling taming method you spoke of. The corners of Mo Tianxue's mouth twitched. As the emperor of a Tier 1 kingdom, he was knowledgeable on many matters. He had the privilege of seeing how a beast tamer usually raised the strength of its tamed beast on several occasions, but to do so through a violent thrashing despite his advanced age, he had never heard of such a thing. Rest easy, since it's guild leader Lu, there'll surely be no problem at all. Mou said confidently. The sight of her viridescent eagle achieving a breakthrough after being beaten was still crystal clear in her mind. It shouldn't be too much trouble for him to do the same to this gold-tailed lion as well. But, despite his daughter's confidence, Mo Tianxue was still a little doubtful. Look, the gold-tailed lion seems to have realized something. Knowing that this kind of absurd method was hard to accept, Mu pointed to the gold-tailed lion. Mo Tianxue turned to look. The guardian beast who was still hissing in pain a moment ago was currently looking at Zhang Xian with eyes glowing in excitement. Despite being beaten up to the point that it was spewing blood and its body was trembling in pain, its eyes were filled with exhilaration. Mo Tianxue suddenly saw his own worldly horizons crumbling before him, and his mind went faint. Initially, the gold-tailed lion felt only excruciating pain from Zhang Xian's frenzied beating, but a few moments later, it noticed that something was amiss. What that came with every kick was a surge of jinqi that cleansed its bloodline and raised its cultivation. At this moment, it couldn't be any more clear to it that the other party was sincerely trying to help it raise its cultivation. Thus, instead of retaliating, it focused all of its efforts into trying to absorb the jinqi shot into its body to cleanse its bloodline. Boom! After absorbing many surges of jinqi, it felt as though its bloodline had been cleansed to the limit, and under a violent buzzing sound, a powerful aura suddenly burst from its body. Zhizun realm. Roar! With a deafening roar, the gold-tailed lion stood up. Walala! With a jerk of its massive body, the steel chains locking it in place immediately broke apart, falling onto the floor. It really managed to reach Zhizun realm? Mo Tianxue was dumbfounded. Despite witnessing the sight with his own eyes, he felt as though his brain was unable to cope. It was difficult for even a human cultivator to reach Zhizun realm, needless to say, a savage beast which was limited by its bloodline yet, with a frenzied beating, it managed to achieve a breakthrough. Wasn't this way too easy? Could it be that even though it looked like guild leader Lu was frenziedly beating up the gold-tailed lion, he was actually opening up all of the restraints within its body in order to raise its strength? A thought suddenly popped up in his mind. He had read on an ancient manual that there were some formidable master teachers who could raise the cultivation of another by beating them. By striking a person on the right locations, they were able to knock open the jammed parts in a person's body, allowing their jinqi to flow smoothly, thus raising their cultivation. The young man before him struck the gold-tailed lion to the point that it was spewing blood, and it looked as though it was on the verge of dying. Yet, the latter was still able to achieve a breakthrough successfully despite the overwhelming odds, so this might very well be the reasoning behind it. Since he was able to help a savage beast achieve a breakthrough via such a method, would it be possible for him to do the same to a human as well? As this thought popped into Mo Tianxue's mind, his eyes lit up with fervor. I'm done. Upon seeing that the gold-tailed lion had achieved a breakthrough, Zhang nodded in satisfaction. It seemed it was indeed possible for him to induce a breakthrough in a half-Zhizuan realm savage beast with the Zhongshi of a Zongshi realm pinnacle. Thus, Zhang made a mental note to try it on the Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast later on as well. If that fellow was able to reach Zhizuan realm as well, Zhang wouldn't have to fear any opponent in Tianwu Kingdom anymore. Clapping his hands, he disregarded the look of gratitude in the eyes of the gold-tailed lion before him, and walked up to Mou and Mo Tianxue instead. Guild leader Lu, thank you for helping the gold-tailed lion to achieve a breakthrough. I am truly grateful to you. Mo Tianxue bowed deeply and earnestly thanked Zhang. It's nothing. Zhang shook his head. He had already agreed to help the other party. Furthermore, he had accepted 5 spirit stones from the other party, so it was only right for him to return the favor. Seeing the other party brushing off the matter nonchalantly made Mo Tianxue even more confident of his conjecture. He hesitated for a brief moment before asking, if possible, I would like to ask Guild Leader Lu to help me on another matter. Oh. I've been stuck at Zongshi Realm Pinnacle for many years now, and no matter how hard I try, I've been unable to advance my cultivation. Guild Leader Lu, can you help me overcome my bottleneck as well? I don't ask of you to help me reach Zhizuan Realm, just half Zhizuan will be enough. Mo Tianxue stared at Zhang expectantly, and his breathing inadvertently hastened. Help you overcome your bottleneck? Zhang was taken aback. Indeed. Don't worry. I know what I should do. Mo Tianxue nodded. Looking at the other party's confident look, Zhang was perplexed. What was this fellow up to? Could it be that the other party knew that he needed spirit stones, and he had a hidden stash in his possession? But at this moment, the other party picked up the steel chain on the floor and tied himself up tightly. Then, lying on the floor, he yelled excitedly, I'm ready. Come, beat me up, Zhang. Chapter 355, The Promised Duel, cough cough. Grabbing her forehead, Mou nearly spurted a mouthful of blood. Zhang beast pummeling taming method is only suitable for savage beasts. What are you doing tying yourself up and lying on the ground? Besides, the reason why the gold-tailed lion was tied up was out of fear that it would panic and hurt him. As a human, you only have to hold yourself back. More importantly, what do you mean by beat me up? Those who don't know the reason might think that you are a masochist. Father, come up. With a slightly flushed face, Mou hurried forward and helped him up. However, Mo Tianxue couldn't truly be blamed for behaving in such a manner. Seeing the guardian beast who he thought would be unable to achieve a breakthrough for the rest of its life, he began thinking about himself as well. If he were to succeed, the country could be brought to even greater heights. Over the past few years, the Lin Clan and Mo Hongyi had been exerting heavy pressure on him, leaving him in a constantly tense state. Upon seeing the hope of achieving a breakthrough before him, how could he possibly hold himself back? Since the gold-tailed lion has already reached Zhizuan realm, I won't impose on you any longer. I still have matters to attend to, so I'll be taking my leave now. After explaining that his beast pummeling taming method was only suited for savage beasts, Zhang clasped his fist and left. In truth, Zhang was capable of helping the other party achieve a breakthrough. However, doing so would reveal his identity. On top of that, he had nothing to gain from doing it either. After taking a few steps, an aroma suddenly wafted through the air, and he saw Mou running toward him. Zhang, I said that I would bring you to watch a show yesterday. Judging from the time now, it should have already begun. Let's go together. A show? What's going on? Zhang was perplexed by Mou's words. You'll know once we get there. Mou grinned like a gleeful fox. All right. Since the other party was unwilling to say anything, Zhang Xian didn't ask either. The duo proceeded out of the royal palace. Tianwu Academy. Zhao Ye and the others were here once more. The previous time they were here, Zhao Ye had fought with that braggart of a lady. The eventual draw had weighed on her mind since then. Thus, she had been diligently cultivating the sword art her grand teacher had taught her. At this moment, she had complete confidence that she would be able to defeat the other party and force her to apologize. That woman had only managed a draw due to her superior battle technique the previous time. Now that Zhao Ye has learned a sword art from grand teacher, that woman surely isn't a match anymore. Indeed. How dare she insult teacher? We must teach her a lesson. Zheng Yang, Yuan Tao, and the others harumphed coldly. It was due to Zhang Laosher's guidance that they were able to reach such heights in their cultivation. They admired and respected him deeply, as though he was their faith. Yet, someone actually dared to doubt their belief, even claiming that he was inferior to what Lu Laosher. How could they not be angry? What Lu Laosher was he even worthy of being placed alongside Zhang Laosher in the same sentence? Wang Ying nodded as well, and her mouth slowly shaped into a pout. She might have a weak character, but if anyone were to insult Zhang Laosher, she would be the first one to confront the other party. Soon, they arrived at the location promised for the duel. The usually remote sparring ring was filled with a crowd at the moment. Many students had heard of the news and come, curious to see whether the students of Zhang Shi or the recently famous Lu Laosher would be stronger. That woman is here. Zheng Yang pointed. The group turned over and saw Mu Xueqing, Meng Tao, and the others walking over. Deep confidence emanated from Mu Xueqing as she slowly walked over. She had tried out the saber art that Lu Laosher had imparted her, and it was incredibly powerful. It was many times stronger than the battle techniques she had cultivated before. From the very start, that woman wasn't skilled in any battle techniques at all, and the only reason why it ended in a draw was due to her powerful zhenqi. Now that she had learned such a powerful battle technique, how could the other party withstand her offense? Zhang Shi isn't at Tianwu Academy, and even if he is here, it is impossible for her to learn a saber art of my level in just 3 days. Thus she is bound to lose today. The gazes of the two ladies met, and Mu Xueqing harumphed coldly in her mind. Seems like the two of them are very confident of themselves. Lu Changyan had arrived very early on, and upon seeing the expression of both the ladies, he narrowed his eyes. They must have learned even more formidable moves in the past 3 days to defeat the other party. Not too far away, Zhao Wuxing's expression was grim as well. As the two strongest experts among the younger generation in Tianwu Academy, they possessed an exceptional eye for such stuff. These two ladies were spirited, and they exuded powerful confidence and pride through their gestures. Clearly, they were well prepared. Who do you think will win this time? Lu Changyan turned to Zhao Wuxing and asked. I think that it'll be Mu Xueqing. The latter replied. Oh. Hearing this evaluation, Lu Changyan, as well as several other students around them, turned to look at Zhao Wuxing. They wanted to know the reason behind the opinion of the number 1 student in the academy. After hearing that Lu Laosher had solved the questions on the wall of dilemma perfectly and become the new guild leader of the Physician Guild, I went to their classroom to take a look yesterday and happened to see Mu Xueqing executing a saber art. Zhao Wuxing clenched his fists tightly, and cold sweat started trickling down his forehead. Honestly speaking, that saber art is truly formidable. Even I would be forced to kneel in defeat before it. Remembering the sight yesterday, Zhao Wuxing felt fearful. Yesterday, when he heard the conversation between Emperor Tianxue and Lu Laosher, he had his men look into the matter and learned of the ruckus that Lu Laosher had caused in the city. Impressed, he had visited their classroom and happened to witness Mu Xueqing executing the saber art that she had just learned. Every single movement of her saber was absurdly profound, and he found himself unable to decipher it at all. After simulating the other party's movements in his mind the entire night, to his helplessness, he realized that even if he were to use all of the techniques he knew, he would still be unable to avoid her attacks. It was simply too powerful. It was far beyond any single battle technique one could find in Tianwu Academy. Now that Mu Xueqing's powerful cultivation was paired with such a formidable saber art, who could possibly be her match? Senior Zhao admitted defeat. Doesn't this mean that Mu Xueqing is currently the strongest student in Tianwu Academy? That is way too fearsome. The crowd broke into a commotion. Zhao Wuxing had dominated the academy for several years, and countless students viewed him as their idol and goal. Yet, at this very moment, he was actually admitting his inferiority to Mu Xueqing. The uproar that would result from these words once it spreads was unimaginable. I don't agree with your evaluation. Lu Changyan shook his head. Mu Xueqing's saber art might be incredible, but I don't think that she would necessarily win today. Why? Hearing that his good friend didn't share his opinion, Zhao Wuxing turned to look at Lu Changyan. I don't know whether this Xiao Ye has become more powerful in the past 3 days or not, but I've looked into Zhang Shi's matters in the past few days. If you were to know of the miracles he had created, you would also think that there is nothing impossible when he is involved. A look of respect appeared on Lu Changyan's face. He became a master teacher despite being under 20, and in the midst of doing so, he broke the numerous records that Mo Hongyi left behind. On top of that, he is also a 3-star painter and a Zongshi realm expert. More importantly, I heard that his current students had only come under him 2 months ago, and the total duration that he had been with them only numbered a total of 5 to 6 days. In such a short period of time, he was able to grant Xiao Ye and the others, who came from Tianxian Kingdom, strength that could rival Mu Xueqing. Don't you think that his ability is terrifying? Only came under him 2 months ago. A total of 5 to 6 days. Where did you get this news? Is it reliable? Hearing this news, the crowd was completely shocked. What kind of place was Tianxian Kingdom? A backward kingdom located in a remote region. It was said that the students there could enter the academy at Fighter 1 Dan, and upon reaching Zhongshi realm, they would already be considered as one of the top experts in the academy. In just 5 to 6 days of teaching over a span of 2 months, he was able to groom students capable of rivaling Mu Xueqing. Surely, I have heard wrongly? The person I asked is a master teacher apprentice, and she happened to be present during Zhang Shi's examination. She heard these words from Zhang Shi in person, so it's impossible for her to be mistaken. Lu Changyan replied confidently. The person who told him this news was his childhood friend, so it was impossible for the other party to lie. To be able to attain such overwhelming strength with just around 6 days of guidance, it might really be possible for Xiao Ye to make another huge leap in just 3 days. Zhao Wuxing nodded in agreement. Even so, didn't Zhang Shi leave the city for the 2-star master teacher examination? Indeed. Since he isn't here, without his guidance, it'll be difficult for Xiao Ye to triumph over Mu Xueqing. Someone from the crowd exclaimed, and a wave of approval immediately sounded out. Even if Zhang Shi isn't here, he could have left behind secret manuals for his students to learn. After all, Xiao Ye and the others are vying for his honor now. If they were to lose, wouldn't it mean that he is inferior to this Lu Laoshi? As a master teacher, how could Zhang Shi be inferior to Lu Laoshi? Lu Laoshi isn't too bad as well, alright? Despite his young age, he has become the guild leader of the Physician Guild. Furthermore, in just the first lesson, he managed to induce a breakthrough in all of the students in his class. If not for his limited talent which prevented him from taking the master teacher examination, he wouldn't be inferior to Zhang Shi in any way. I still think that Zhang Shi is stronger. Soon, the crowd began arguing who was better. Some of the students were Zhang Xian's fan and were filled with admiration for him. Some were conquered by Lu Laoshi, and as students of Tianwu Academy, they hoped that a teacher of their academy could win against outsiders. They quarreled fervently with one another, and neither side was willing to budge. Before Xiaoye and Mu Xueqing could fight, a huge argument had started down below. Damn it! How dare they say that Lu Laoshi is more formidable than Zhang Laoshi? Xiaoye, even I'll look down on you if you fail to beat this Mu Xueqing up today. Hearing the commotion below, Zheng Yang gritted his teeth furiously. He always had a fiery temper, otherwise he wouldn't have accepted Zhou Tian Laoshi's student dueling platform challenge back then when the latter treated Zhang Laoshi unfairly back in Hongtian Academy. The reason why they accepted this duel was to defend their teacher's honor and bring glory to him. Yet, over half of the audience here were actually supporting Lu Laoshi, claiming that Zhang Laoshi was inferior to him. How could he take this lying down? Don't worry. If I don't force her into submission today, I will look for Zhang Laoshi myself and ask him to punish me for disappointing him. Grabbing a sheathed sword in her hand, a powerful and cold aura surged forth from Xiaoye. Who? The crowd opened up a path, and Xiaoye slowly walked up to the sparring ring. After which, she stood there proudly, as though there was no one in the world who could stand against her. Wang! A shrill sound rang clearly in the air as Xiaoye drew her sword. She pointed it straight at Mu Xueqing valiantly. Mu Xueqing, do you dare to fight with me using weapons? Why wouldn't I? Mu Xueqing leaped onto the sparring ring as well. In her hand, a saber danced as if it were a mighty dragon, and the air moaned under the pressure of her swings. Her aura abruptly surged as she propelled her Zhongshi. The battle was about to begin. It's about to begin. Within a distant towering structure, a few elders were seated. Their gazes were directed toward the sparring ring. Among them was Principal Xie Bai, who had nearly spurted blood from anger while assessing Zhang Xian, and the most prestigious elders in the academy. Even though Mu Xueqing's duel with Zhang Shi's student was only a matter between students, there were many implications regarding it. As such, even they were alarmed into action. If Mu Xueqing is able to achieve victory, the prestige of our academy will rise. An elder said as he stroked his beard. Indeed. Even in the millennia of history behind Tianwu Kingdom, Zhang Shi is, without a doubt, the most talented individual in Tianwu Kingdom Master-Teacher Pavilion. Just his student's terrifying trust level of 85 in him was already completely unprecedented. If Mu Xueqing is able to win, our curriculum will be recognized and praised by countless people. Another elder nodded in agreement. It's true that there'll be huge benefits if we win, but have you considered what will happen if Mu Xueqing loses? Actually, regardless of whether she wins or loses, our academy stands to benefit. The elder from before smiled. Why? The elder who posed the question was unable to comprehend the meaning behind those words. Simple. Lu Laoshi is only an ordinary teacher in our academy, whereas Zhang Shi is a formidable 2-star master teacher. Losing to such an incredible person can't be considered an embarrassment. On the other hand, if she were to win, the benefits we stand to win are huge. The other elder replied with a smile. Elder Luo is right. Regardless of whether Mu Xueqing wins or not, it's good news for our academy. That's also the reason why I didn't interfere with their duel. Principal Xie Bai gestured grandly. Then, his expression suddenly turned grim as he said, "Look, they've begun." Everyone immediately turned their gazes over and saw the two ladies crossing blows. This move of Xueqing is well executed, it is both forceful and precise. As expected of a member of a distinguished clan, her grasp over her battle techniques has reached an extremely high level. The elders in the room were all experts of Tianwu Kingdom. With a single glance, they were able to see the mistakes in the movements of the two ladies and they began commenting on them. This move is not bad. Let's see how the other party deals with it, another elder nodded. However, before he could finish his words, he couldn't help but slap his thigh as his eyes glowed with excitement. Incredible, incredible. This Xiaoye is indeed a genius. Not only did she manage to neutralize Xueqing's attack with this slanted stab, she was even able to counterattack. To be able to turn the tides of the battle with a single move, her decisiveness and calmness is incredible. I have only seen such traits on Elder Wu before. Even though her reaction is swift, Xueqing isn't lagging behind at all. Look at her counterattack. Her diagonal slash is precise, and she managed to achieve a perfect balance in her strength. I've seen her with her saber before, but when did she get so formidable? I'm afraid that she might not even pale against Elder Bai. Against Elder Bai? You must be joking. Principal Xia Bai shook his head. Elder Bai has been immersed in saber art for more than 30 years, and he is just a single step away from comprehending saber intent. He's the most powerful saber user in our academy. Look at how old Mu Xueqing is. She might be proficient in saber arts, but she must be still a long way off from comprehending saber intent. You're right, one has to possess an utmost understanding of the saber before one could comprehend saber intent, and not even 1 in 10,000 cultivators could reach that level. In the entire Tianwu royal city, only insane saber Guoda had reached that level. Indeed, Principal Xiaobai nodded, it's not that easy to comprehend weapon intent. Without devoting decades into it, it is impossible to achieve that level. Even though Mu Xueqing's mastery over saber is incredible, she still needs many years of accumulation before she is able to touch that level. The heck. Before he could finish his words, Principal Xiaobai seemed to have witnessed something that he couldn't believe, and vulgarities immediately spouted from his mouth. Upon seeing the other party's discomposure, the other elders also swiftly turned their gazes onto the sparring ring. With a single glance, their eyes narrowed and their bodies began to spasm. How can this be? On the stage, Mu Xueqing's pitch-black hair was fluttering about as her long skirt danced along with the wind. In that instant, she looked like an elegant fairy. A white saber aura glowed on the saber in her hand. Like a savage snake, it danced about the surface of the saber. The glint of the saber splits the air and that static aura. This is saber intent. Principal Xiaobai felt his throat turn dry. He had just said that it was impossible for the other party to comprehend saber intent without years of effort when this sight occurred. At this moment, his shock was indescribable. Elder Bai had immersed himself in saber art for numerous decades, but he was still unable to take the final step to achieve saber intent. Yet, a teenage lady had succeeded in reaching that level. How was this possible? It is Lu Laoshi. It must be him. An elder yelled out, I have known that last Xueqing since her childhood, and I am well aware of how powerful she is. A while ago, she demonstrated her saber art before me, and she was still thousands of miles away from comprehending saber intent. Given how she is able to comprehend saber intent in such a short period of time, it must be Lu Laoshi's credit. I've also heard that Lu Qing Laoshi had imparted her a saber art a few days ago. Could that saber art be the cause of her comprehension of saber intent? An elder who had visited Lu Laoshi's classroom a while ago said. To comprehend saber intent in just 3 short days, how in the world did this Lu Laoshi do it? Regardless of how he did it, his teaching standard has already reached an astounding level. The other lady is definitely going to lose. Indeed. The only way she can withstand Mu Xueqing, who has comprehended saber intent, is by comprehending sword intent. I have seen her swordsmanship just now. Principal Xiaobai shook his head. Even though she isn't weak, she's still a long distance away from comprehending sword intent. Her loss is inevitable now, cough cough. Principal, that might not necessarily be the case. Look, before Principal Xia could finish his words, an elder interjected. What's wrong? Frowning, Principal Xia looked at the sparring field doubtfully. That even though Zhaoye didn't raise her sword up, there is a light buzz from her sword, and a white aura is flowing around the blade. No matter how I look at it, it seems like sword intent. The elder asked. Sword intent? Everyone hurriedly turned their gazes over. All along, Xiaoya's back had been facing them. On top of that, she had never raised her sword high up, and the elders were also too focused on Mu Xueqing due to her saber intent. Paying careful attention to Xiaoya's sword now, they immediately realized that something was amiss. Just like the elder before had said, her sword was emanating a slight buzz, and a white light was flowing around the blade as though ripples across water. The flowing ripples and the crisp call of the phoenix. This is sword intent. Everyone immediately recognized it to be sword intent. The lady before them, Xiaoya, had actually comprehended sword intent. Two teenage ladies, one of them had comprehended saber intent while the other one had comprehended sword intent. How could this be? The heck? Can anyone tell me what is going on? To comprehend sword intent and saber intent in just 3 days, if anyone were to tell them such words, they would definitely spit in the other party's face. Witnessing this sight personally, they felt as though their view of the world had crumbled apart. Their hearts were beating so wildly that it felt as though they were going to explode. Principal Saber cried. Right after he said it was impossible for Mu Xueqing to comprehend saber intent, the other party immediately displayed it. Then, when he said that Xiaoya would definitely lose, she immediately executed sword intent. Tell me the truth. You two are here to slap my face, right? Alright, I'll accept it, but saber intent and sword intent, how could you two teenage ladies possibly reach this level? You must be pulling my leg. In a moment, all of the elders in the room were dumbfounded. None of them were able to utter a single word. Tianwu Academy, the residence of the elders. Woo woo woo. An elder moved forcefully around the courtyard with a saber in his hands. The winds from the saber were reminiscent of massive waves, and if one were to be swept in its flow, it would be impossible to escape. Who? After completing his routine, the elder kept his saber and stood upright. Teacher's saber art is getting more and more proficient. You're probably not too far away from comprehending saber intent already. A young man hurriedly passed a towel to him and said with a respectful look. Sigh. The elder shook his head, and melancholy brimmed in his eyes. Even though I can already feel that state and I'm already not too far away from it, if I'm unable to take the final step, it will still be for naught. The elder speaking at the moment was Elder Bai, the person whom Principal Xia and the other elders had been talking about a moment ago. Despite having immersed himself in saber arts for several decades, he was unable to take the final step. Many experts had come close to achieving weapon intent, but most of them were stuck at the very last step, unable to make the final breakthrough until their deaths. Teacher is only lacking a fortuitous encounter. Once such a fortuitous encounter comes your way, all of your accumulation will definitely allow you to achieve a breakthrough in an instant. The young man also understood this logic, and all he could do now was to console his teacher. Indeed, all I lack is a fortuitous encounter. However, where can I find such an encounter? Elder Bai smiled bitterly. If an elder who had comprehended saber intent were to appear before me now, I'll immediately acknowledge him as my teacher. As long as I can observe an expert executing saber intent for a single day, I'll surely be able to comprehend saber intent in less than a month. However, no one in Tianwu Royal City has been able to reach this level. Perhaps, saber intent will forever remain a dream for me. Rather than a concept, saber intent was more like a feeling, impossible to be verbalized. Even so, if an expert who had comprehended saber intent were to display his saber art before him, given Elder Bai's mastery in the field, he could receive an epiphany, and this could allow him to take the very last step. However, those who managed to comprehend saber intent were all formidable existences. Who would be willing to be his teacher and demonstrate saber art for him daily? Teacher, there's no need to worry. The young man was about to console his teacher when he saw his teacher's eyes widening and his breathing hastening. Dang Lang. The saber which he treasured as much as his own life dropped to the ground, but the elder didn't seem to have realized it at all. Teacher, his teacher had always been a calm person, and this was his first time seeing the other party get so agitated. He couldn't help but feel perplexed. It's saber intent. Zhang Shi was indeed incredible, but their Lu Laoshi didn't lose out to him at all. On top of her comprehending Saber intent, she had also seen the progress that the cultivating Lu Chong had made, and she realized how fearsome Lu Laoshi's capability was. 3 days ago, Lu Chong was only at Dingli Realm primary stage. A Pishui realm expert like her could easily tear apart dozens of cultivators at his level. But today, when she saw him, he had already reached the cultivation of a Pishui realm primary stage. On top of that, he possessed overwhelming physical strength which even Tongxian realm intermediate stage cultivator might not be able to withstand. In such a short period of time, Lu Laoshi made the averagely talented Lu Chang's cultivation jump 2 realms. Given Lu Laoshi's means, Mu Xueqing was confident that no master teacher could compare up to him, not even Zhang Shi. Lu Laoshi's name mustn't be sullied. I must win today. Howling furiously inwardly, the light on her abruptly brightened as she slashed frenziedly toward the lady before her. As Mu Xueqing started to grit her teeth and go all out, Zhao also started to panic. She had comprehended sword intent from the sword art grand teacher had imparted her personally. Initially, she thought that she would be able to defeat the other party easily. Yet, the other party's improvement didn't pale out to hers at all. No wonder she is so protective of Lu Laoshi. Seems like her teacher isn't a simple person. In the past, Zhao thought that Zhang Laoshi was far superior to all the heroes in the world. But at this moment, she suddenly realized that there were many formidable people out there. And this Lu Laoshi was one of them. She might be strong, and she is incredible to have comprehended Saber intent as well, but it is a pity that her physical constitution is inferior to mine. Exhaling deeply, Zhao Ye's eyes glowed brightly. The other party possessed immense strength and profound moves. However, the other party lacked a strong physical constitution like hers. She possessed the pure Yin body, and her unique constitution allowed her to challenge experts beyond her level. In the past duel, it was due to her lacking battle technique that she lost out to the other party. But at this moment, she had already comprehended sword intent, thus allowing her to rival the other party's saber intent. Given that she had made up for her flaw in her battle technique, how could the other party possibly withstand her attacks? Time to end it. Zhao Ye's eyebrows shot up as she drove her pure Yin body to full strength. Her pitch-black silky hair danced in the sky, and at this very instant, she felt like a mystical fairy. Even Mu Xueqing, who prided herself on her beauty, couldn't help but feel ashamed of her looks. The pure Yin body was capable of bringing out the beauty in a woman. Once it was activated, her beauty would become flawless. As such, it was the physical constitution that countless women dreamt of. Who? Unleashing the full might of her physical constitution, the light on Zhao Ye's sword amplified furiously, and as if it were a dragon, the sword charged straight toward Mu Xueqing. With great might behind it, it struck the saber and sliced it into 2. Without slowing in the least, it continued to proceed forward. Mu Xueqing's face instantaneously turned pale. At this moment, to even her own surprise, what she was worried about wasn't getting severely injured from the other party's sword. Instead, she was worried that Lu Laoshi's honor would be sullied. However, her saber had already been sliced apart, and the other party's sword was already right before her. Even if she wanted to dodge or do anything, it was already too late. She could only shut her eyes and wait for the sword to fall on her. Seems like Mu Xueqing has lost, indeed. It can't be helped either. There's no student in Tianwu Academy who could possibly withstand this slash. It's such a terrifying attack. Even Tongxian realm primary stage experts would be unable to face such an attack, needless to say, a Pishui realm cultivator. Upon seeing this sight, everyone's heart jolted. The 2 ladies were outstanding, but there had to be a loser in a duel. Despite all of the talk before, everyone couldn't help but be astounded when they saw Mu Xueqing falling in defeat. For you to be so determined to pull me over, what kind of show could it be? I still have things to attend to, so I don't have the time to accompany you to such events. Upon walking out of the royal palace, Princess Mou kept trying to pull him somewhere excitedly, causing Zhang to be slightly speechless. He still had to head to the physician guild to browse through books as well as to return to the residence to guide Xiaoya and the others on their cultivation. There were too many things he had to attend to, so how could he have the time to waste on a commotion? Don't be so anxious, we're already arriving. You'll surely be happy to watch this show, Mou chuckled softly. This fellow had always been calm and collected before her. Even though he seemed to be ignorant of everything, he was able to solve all problems easily. This time, 2 of your students are fighting for the sake of your honor. Let's see how you'll deal with this. We're heading to Tianwu Academy. Since Mou was unwilling to speak, Zhang knew that there was no use for him to ask anything. Thus, he followed the other party quietly. However, taking a good look at the road he was at, he suddenly felt perplexed. He was sure that the direction they were heading toward led to Tianwu Academy. Didn't she want to bring him to see a show? Why would she bring him to the academy? Perplexed, Zhang followed closely behind her. However, the moment he stepped into the academy, he realized that something was amiss. Why isn't there anyone here? It was noon, and the academy should have been filled with people. The 2 of them seemed to have been injured in a fight, and there seemed to be a continuation to each of their matters. Given the size of Tianwu Royal City, it was highly unlikely for the 2 of them to meet, especially when there was no connection between them. Thus, he didn't consider this possibility. Never in his dreams could he have imagined that not only would the 2 meet, they even fought each other. Are you for real? Quickly turning to look at Mou, he saw a gleeful look on her face, as if she was happy to see the other party put in an awkward position. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Ignoring Mou, he immediately dashed forward and saw the 2 people sparring in the ring. Who else could it be other than Mu Xueqing and Xiaoya? Woo-woo. Right after recognizing the duo, he saw Xiaoya driving her purine body, and with immense force, she cut through the other party's saber. Mu Xueqing was in danger. Stop! Who? Operating the Heaven's Path movement art, Zhang body blurred and appeared in the sparring ring. Initially, Mu Xueqing thought that she had lost. Thus, she closed her eyes, waiting for the final blow to land on her when she suddenly heard the whistling of the wind before her. Then, a figure appeared in front of her. Teacher, Mu Xueqing's eyes reddened, and suddenly, all of her emotions came spilling out. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.